36-year-old caretaker Julie Castellano is suing 35-year-old hardware installer Hector Moreno Sr. and his son, 13-year-old Hector Jr. Julie says Hector Jr. threw an egg at her car.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 33 on the calendar in the matter of Castellano versus Moreno. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats.
Miss Castellano, you're driving along in your car and you hear something.
Yes, I do.
Tell me, describe what you heard.
It was just a loud thump.
A thump.
Thump.
A thump. That's what you said in here.
Yes.
A thump. What did you do?
I immediately pulled over and I noticed that there was egg on my vehicle.
So an egg hit your car?
It looked like maybe more than one, but I don't know. Yes.
No, it could have only been one egg because all you heard was one thump, right?
I believe so.
You heard one thump, you got out, you looked, and there was egg droppings on your car.
Yes.
And it is your claim that the defendant's son threw the egg. It caused damage to your car, which you estimated over $2,000.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so what makes you first think it was the defendant's son?
There was a group of children standing on the side of the road.
How many children?
Probably 3 or 4. And I went up to them and I said, "You just threw something at my car," and they said, I'm sorry, and they seemed like they were a little bit afraid. And then the father came out, Mr. Marino came out, and I told him that I believe your children had thrown something at my vehicle. And then he talked to his son, and then he came back to me and said he would take full responsibility for it. He told me to get an estimate, get the car washed, and he would take care of it.
Miss Castellano, let us assume for the moment that the defendant's son was involved in throwing an egg at your car. You're the son?
Yes.
Who threw the egg at the car?
Juan.
Juan. Who's Juan? Is that a friend of yours?
Yes.
Step up. Did you throw the egg at the car?
Yes.
Did he throw anything at the car?
No.
Why'd you throw an egg at her car?
It was an accident, cause.
You don't throw an egg by accident.
No, cause we played with an egg, and I threw it at him, and he like went down, and I threw the egg, and it hit the vehicle.
He hit the car.
No.
Did you tell this lady that you had hit her car with an egg?
No.
Why?
Cause I was afraid.
Did you know who hit the car with the egg?
Yes.
Did you admit that you hit the car with the egg?
No.
No. Okay. But you say the father said he would take care of the damage. Now, what I want to see, Ms. Castellano, is $2,369 caused by one egg hitting your car. That's what I found suspect.
It dented the vehicle, and that's why I thought maybe it was more than like a stone or something.
No, it was
It's
an
a
egg.
brand
You
new
saw
vehicle.
the egg on the car.
Yeah,
You said you saw the egg on the car. You heard one
Yes.
thump. So it was one thump, which was an egg. Not two, not stones, not rocks. You point to several different areas, madam. You've got dents in 2 spots on your car.
There is one major dent. Those are pictures that I did take of several different ways because it's a black Expedition.
No, you're
and
making circles in various places. One looks like on the bumper and one looks like on the side of the car.
There is on the side of the car scratches from what I brought it right over to get an estimate on this vehicle. And they noticed that there were, from the egg or the stone, whatever it was that was thrown at my car, I know it was an egg, but it could have been something else with that because it scratched the side of my vehicle. It's a brand new vehicle. And I agree with you. I thought that it was a lot of money. But
It is a lot of money. It is a lot of money. And you're suing the wrong person for all this money.
My son's friends that were in the car know Mr. Marino's child.
Yes.
And he saw him do it.
Really?
That's
Who saw him do it? Raise your hand. Really? You saw him do it?
Yes.
This was during the day or at night?
It was at night.
What time at night?
I'd say around 9:30.
Who wants to go first? Perfect. Who are you?
My name's Brandon Castellano.
You know Juan?
I've never met them.
You've never met either one of them.
No.
And so tell me what you saw.
Like we were driving from San Diego, so we were
Yes.
coming home. I turned to the right, you know how you see people on the side when you're looking, and I seen someone throw the egg. I seen Hector Jr., Hector Moreno, throw
How
the
did
egg.
you'd never seen him before?
No, but I can recognize him because I saw him.
Really?
Yes.
What was so clear about Mr. Marino that you know it was Mr. Marino as opposed to Juan?
Because I got a good look at him. He was wearing a white shirt.
So my question is, are you identifying him by virtue of the clothes he was wearing or his face?
Both. I've seen his face and his clothes.
When?
When I turned to the right and I seen him throw the egg.
When you went up to the house, did you go with your mother?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you say to your mother?
I pointed him out and said that was the one that threw the egg.
Without question, you pointed him out.
Without question, I know, without a doubt.
Is that right?
No. He came up to me and was cussing at me.
At you?
Yes.
Was he cursing at anybody else?
Him.
What was he saying to Juan?
Like the F word and all that. And something about Mexicans.
According to you, Ms. Castellano, you said in your complaint, my son and his friends got out of the car and told the other boys, not boy, boys, that they saw them throw something at my car. Little Hector Marino, Jr., that's you, said, I'm sorry. Did you say that?
I didn't say that.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Julie Castellano says 13-year-old Hector Moreno Jr. threw an egg at her car. She wants Hector Sr. to pay for the damage.
What did you say?
Nothing, because my dad came out and he said to go inside.
So what did your son tell you, Mr. Marino?
When I heard something that somebody was yelling outside of my house, I went out. They said, what happened? I asked them. They say,
Who's
them,
they?
Them. Juan, his brother, and another two boys that they were. And I say, what happened? And he says, I don't know. And
Who's
then
they? One boy is talking to you. Your son spoke to you.
My-
What did he say to you, Mr. Marino?
I asked them.
You asked him. I want to know what you asked your son.
I asked my son, what happened?
And what did your son tell you?
He said, I don't know. He told me, I don't know. And I said, well, you don't know. What's happened with the car? Because I saw she was something in the car. He says, I don't know. I said, get into the house. And then Ms. Castellano, she says, your son threw an egg to my car. And I asked them who did it. And everybody was,
I don't know.
okay. And she says, there is the egg in my car, and you can feel the scratch in the chrome molding. And I say, it's okay. Take it to the car wash, and I pay for the car wash. Come
She
back
said
tomorrow.
you could see the scratch on the chrome molding,
Yes.
not on the side of the car.
No. She pointed me, and she made me to feel the chrome molding. And I say, it's okay. Just take it to the car wash. You come back tomorrow, and during the day, we'll see the damage, and we'll see what we can do. 3 days later, she sent me a bill for $2,500.
Out of the question. It's out of the question even if your son threw an egg at her car. But you lied to your father because you knew what happened with the car, right? Mm-hmm. When you said, I don't know anything. You knew what happened.
Yeah, and then I told my mom inside. I told her what happened.
But you lied to your father.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And you lied too when you said, I didn't know anything.
Because I was afraid.
Well, when did you finally tell the truth?
When he was like going to talk with us about the damage.
All right. What I want to see is the estimate that you have for this car, Mr. Castellano.
I have the first estimate that I got.
Let me just take a look at it. I just want to see what these estimates generally look like. Point of impact, right front. 18 days to repair.
That's why I don't know if it was just an egg. I mean, I know I heard a thump, but it could have been a number of eggs. It could have been something because my car had nothing, no dent,
Ms.
no
Castellano.
scratches in it before.
Ms. Castellano,
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm looking at the damages that you are attributing to this one thud on your car, where, according to the defendant's father, and you agreed with that you actually walked over with him and made him touch where the goo was of the egg. Right? You heard one thump, one. So unless there was some sort of rock or abrasive material plucked in this egg, which is highly doubtful, it was an egg that hit your car, not for $2,500 worth of damage on the bumper. It just doesn't happen. But in any event, I am not satisfied that this young man did it. I have another young man who acknowledges that he did. I think you ought to sue his family. And if the case comes before me, then we'll get down to more of the basics as to what kind of damage an egg causes to a car that requires 18 days to repair. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I have the witness here that actually saw little Mr. Hector Marino throw it.
He didn't do that. It was his friend.
And now the next case.
All parties on Ugarte versus Expedia. Step forward, please.
37-year-old shutter builder Yvonne Ugarte is suing her ex-boyfriend, 37-year-old carpenter Victor Espedia, for unpaid bail money and the cost of a new car engine.
Ms. Ugarte, you and the defendant were involved in a relationship.
Yes.
And your lawsuit seeks two things. First, the return of a loan that you made to him for bail money.
Yes.
And the second is for $1,300 that you paid for a new engine for his car or truck.
Yes.
How much was the bail?
Well, it was $1,010, but what he owes me is $810.
Your defense is you say that you were arrested on a domestic violence charge having nothing to do with the plaintiff. You were thoroughly prepared to stay in jail until your arraignment. You didn't ask her to bail you out, and therefore you don't feel as if you owe her the bail money.
That's correct.
Right? And as far as the car engine was concerned, it is your claim that you exchanged gifts. You bought her a ring, and she bought you an engine. So you're even.
Right.
Okay.
Okay,
Were you living together at the time he was arrested?
Yes, he doesn't know this, but he's going to know now. He had a warrant, like he said, on domestic violence with his ex-mother of his other 5 kids. He was getting bad, using drugs with...
lying.
Shh, just listen to me.
Okay.
Shh, don't know. He was arrested.
Okay, he was arrested.
Does he call you from jail?
Okay, yes, he called me at work
And what did he say when he called you?
to go pick up $200 from his mother.
Right.
Your Honor.
Okay, I came up with $300.
No.
Okay.
He told you to go pick up $200 from
Yes.
his mother.
And he wanted me to bail him out. So
I told her to wait.
Don't interrupt again. Look at me. Did you hear me?
I understand.
Perfect. Okay, so you went to his mother's house and you picked up $200.
Yes. And then I got $300 of my own.
Yes.
And I went and picked up my friend, Cynthia, who's also co-signed to bail him out.
How much money did you put in?
$300.
So how does he owe you $810?
Well, because that's how much I have to pay back to the bails bond man. I have everything here.
Let me see.
And that's everything that I've paid so far as receipts.
Okay, so you paid the money.
Yes.
Did you have any conversations when he came home?
Yes, we did.
Like what?
That we were going to go to my friend Cindy's house and say thank you because she didn't have to do that.
Did you go over to Cindy's house with him?
Yes, we did.
And what did he say to Cindy?
He told her thank you because she was the one with the credit.
And what happened with that case?
I got work project.
Did that case go to trial?
No.
So you pled guilty,
Right.
but you appeared in court when you were supposed to.
I appeared in court 3 days after she bailed me out. That's
Fine.
when I was supposed to go to court.
I understand
I asked
that.
her to wait until that court date to see if they were going to let me out or not.
That's
But
not
she went
true.
ahead and bailed me out anyways.
Did your mother give her $200?
Yes, she did.
Had you spoken to your mother from jail?
No.
Well, how did your mother know to give her the money?
I guess she called her.
You guess. Did you give your mother back the money?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
Good. Perfect. And that wasn't even a loan. You see how we get to the truth? All right. Now let's get to the car engine. Tell me about the car engine, Miss Ugarte.
Okay, Victor and I had a deal that, which is all to benefit the family, had a baby coming, whatever, that if we went and got his engine for his truck, that he would, in return, when I bought the transmission for my car, he would put the transmission in my car, buy me a small ring, no engagement ring, a rinky-dink ring, and a computer at his own time. He agreed to that.
Okay.
No. I
Okay.
didn't.
Shh.
So,
Say I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
so we went down and we purchased the engine.
Okay.
Okay. A couple days later, he was to sign up for work project on this domestic violence. Well, he went out partying, took my car. He doesn't have a license. He has to go through DUI classes. Ended up with my car for the whole weekend. I was pregnant at the time, stressing. He went and did his little habit with his friends.
So
I was like, okay, I got to get that engine back. I went down there because I didn't have the receipt. I couldn't get it. He got it.
So he got the engine. Did he
Yep.
buy you the ring?
No,
Yes, I did.
no,
Did you buy a transmission for your car?
no, not yet. I didn't.
Well, let me explain what your problem is. You were going to buy a transmission for your car, and he was going to put it in your car, and that would be payment for the engine, right?
Yes.
You haven't bought the transmission for your car yet.
I didn't see a need to when he took off with the engine and he wasn't going to put it in, so I was going to have to throw it in a shop.
I didn't tell you I wasn't.
Okay?
I'm waiting for you to buy it.
No, you weren't.
Yes, I was.
Let me hear it again.
What? I'm sorry.
Perfect. Don't speak to her. Speak to me.
She's lying.
I don't think she's lying, sir.
Well,
I
Your
just
Honor-
don't, and you're not losing with regard to anything but the bail money so far. Bail money you lost, $810. That you have to give her back. You want her to stay in jail, you tell the jailer, don't take me out of here, I don't want to get bailed out. You don't do that, you pay the bail. You paid your mother, and she loves you. She don't love you anymore. How much was this ring he was supposed to buy you going to cost?
Not even over $50.
And what about the computer? Did you buy her a computer?
No, I didn't. Our deal was, she said, a ring or a computer.
Did you buy her either one?
Yes, I bought her a ring.
What kind of ring did you buy her?
It's a promise ring.
When did you buy it?
Valentine's Day last year.
And when did she buy the engine?
When-
Don't look at her. Look at me. When did she buy the engine for your
I
truck?
guess it was in December.
Was that before or after?
After?
After the promise ring.
Right.
Then you couldn't have made an agreement with her that you were going to buy her a promise ring in exchange for this engine. Do you understand?
Yes.
The dates don't match up. So you didn't buy her the computer,
No.
and you didn't buy her the ring.
Not yet.
I want it
I
now.
doubt it. I doubt it. Now, she says the ring that you were going to spend only $50 for the ring. That's, should have said he was going to spend $500. That would have been better for you. How much does it cost to put in an engine?
$1,300 in the shop.
Just the
$1,200
labor part.
Oh, I'm not even sure. Gosh.
Well, then how am I supposed to know?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
500. I don't know
I don't
what the labor is.
Meanwhile, you haven't bought it, so he can't renege on that part of the contract. So, you know how to do that?
Yes.
So, that's part of it. But you would have at least spent $200 for a ring, right? You wouldn't buy her a ring
No.
for $50,
That
right?
one was free
Right.
from his mom.
Right?
Right.
Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,010. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
58-year-old Paula Haywood is suing her neighbor, 55-year-old computer consultant Marianne Wigner, for medical bills resulting from an assault. Marianne is countersuing for her medical bills.
Come to order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 149 on the calendar in the matter of Haywood versus Wigner. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Ms. Haywood, you live in a condominium complex.
Yes.
The defendant lives there as well. She is head of the homeowners association.
No, that's not correct.
What are you in charge of?
I'm not now, but during the incident, I was a property manager.
Okay, but you also live there.
Yes.
And it is your claim that the defendant instigated an assault for which you were arrested. You want to be reimbursed for all of your medical bills, for your lost wages, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The defendant says that you were actually the aggressor in this assault, and she is counterclaiming. Now, the problem that developed between the two of you had to do with trash.
Yes, ma'am.
And there was a trial with regard to this assault. You were the complainant.
Yes.
And that case was dismissed.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, tell me what happened.
Okay, I was in my living room playing Nintendo with my son and my nieces, and all of a sudden I just heard a bang, and I looked, and it was trash on my door. And Basically, I knew it was Mary Ann because a week before she had told me, you know how they deliver the city trash cans?
No, I don't know how they deliver city trash cans.
They deliver the city everybody has them now, the city trash dumpsters. Well, they had delivered them, and I used my trash can, so she put a note on my door saying...
She told you, don't use the trash cans, use the dumpster.
Yes, ma'am.
And you put your trash in the trash can.
Yes.
So that you heard a thud outside, and you saw your trash where?
On my front porch against my door.
Okay. Did you see who put it there?
Well, actually, I saw her walking away. I didn't see her put it there. I saw her walking away from there, the only person.
So you assumed it was her. So what did you do?
Well, I went to the door to see who put it there. I saw her walking up, and so I went. I put on shoes. I wasn't dressed. I had on a gown. So I went and threw on some sweatpants and a shirt, and actually I went out, put it back on her porch.
And how far is her porch from your porch?
It's probably like 8 feet. I stood at the stairs, and I kind of tossed it back on her porch.
So you didn't go up on her porch. You
No.
took the trash, and you threw it on her porch.
I tossed it, yeah, just like she did mine. But she wasn't in there.
You didn't see her throw the trash on your
Well, she
porch.
admits it.
Shh. I want you to try answering my questions.
Okay.
You didn't see her put the trash on your porch.
No, I did not.
You came out, saw the trash on your porch, and flung it on her porch.
Yes, ma'am.
What happened next?
So then I went back into my house, and it came flying back against my door again.
You didn't see who it was?
No, I saw it was her.
And what did you do next?
Basically,
Now you got your garbage on your porch.
It was tit for tat. I mean, in actuality,
I asked you what you did next.
I went and I threw it back on hers again.
That's not
And then
true,
what?
Your Honor.
Just a second. And what happened next?
She came out and pepper sprayed me, and the gardener was a witness to that.
So she came out, and she sprayed you in the face.
Yes.
What happened next?
So then when she sprayed me, it's like it got into, because I actually was turning, when she opened her door, I was turning to go back to my apartment. So when I turned to go back to my apartment, when it got in my eye, when I turned back around, when I heard her door open, I turned around, and so it got me right here in this eye. So in actuality, I held my eye, and I went to grab her can from her because she was walking towards me spraying. So I went to grab the can of pepper spray from her, and then we struggled over it. Like, you know, trying to get it away from each other because I was going to spray her back, to be honest with you, because she sprayed me.
Okay, go ahead.
So then as we struggled over it, she hit me because it wasn't getting loose. I hit her, and we hit each other, and we struggled over this can. And basically with one hand on the can and one hand, like, striking each other.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Just not going to get to you in a minute. Go ahead.
Then we ended up over a fence where Mr. had came down, and he grabbed me from behind and choked me and dragged me back. And at that time, Mary Ann came with a rake, and I grabbed, and while he's choking me, and I'm on the ground. He's a director of the condominium, one of the directors. He owns the apartment or condo above Mary Ann.
So he saw the scuffle, evidently, and went out and restrained you, and she went and got a rake. Is that what you just said?
Well, he didn't see it. Well, he was upstairs, and then he came down. And so, yes, and then she grabbed a rake from the gardener.
Yes.
And came at me with it, and it's like as I'm trying to pry his hands away from me, I'm on my knees. I reached up when she came at me. You know, I saw through my peripheral vision a person approaching me, so I just reached up at the time she came at me with it, and I grabbed it from her.
And
then I tried to get Mr. off because I mean I'm asthmatic and I couldn't breathe, so I'm trying to get him off of me. Then he starts letting go of me as I'm standing up, catching my breath, because it took a few seconds before I could catch my breath. He, like, I guess to grab the rake from me, he stepped towards me, and I hit him with the rake. I swung the rake. It hit him in his head, and I dropped the rake, and I walked into my house, and I called 911.
You were, in fact, convicted of assaulting Mr.
I was found guilty.
You were found guilty. You were convicted.
Yes.
Of assaulting Mr.
With a lesser battery, yes.
But acquitted after a trial with regard to the defendant.
Yeah, they dropped charges against me for her.
All right, so now you tell me your version of what happened.
Could I go back a little bit deeper than that?
To when?
October of 1999?
No. Stay with this. If there was bad blood between the two of you, that's not relevant.
It kind of sets the scene, but anyway, 14 cans were delivered in the parking lot along the edge of the back into the parking lot real close to one of the units. The only reason they were delivered there was because we were going to do an enclosure out where the dumpster is on the street and then move the 14 cans out there. So it was like a temporary layover. So I delivered a notice to all units and let them know that until further notice, please use the dumpster. So a few days later, there's 2 cans that are full of trash. Well, actually, one was full of trash. It was unit number 9. It had the numbers on each one of the cans.
What unit are you in?
That's not true. I'm
Sure,
number
just
9.
answer my question.
I'm unit number 9.
You're number 9?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead.
And I delivered a notice to both unit number 9 and 11 and reiterated the fact that we have a dumpster and you don't use the trash cans. And please take the trash out of there and put it in the dumpster. Number 11 came to me and she said, I'm so sorry. She said, I debated whether I should do that or not. And the next thing I know, I get this back on my door. They shouldn't be there then. You empty them yourself and kiss my crazy, which was typical of the conversations I would have with Paula over parking issues.
Just a second. Shh. Why did you write her this nasty
Well,
note?
I didn't. In actuality,
Why did you write her this nasty note?
I did not write that exact what it says. I mean, and basically that is copied on there. I mean, because I saw that when I went to trial. I did say that they shouldn't be there, but I did not say the B word. I mean, I didn't call her in actuality.
No, you wrote this down.
No, I
Miss
wrote
Hayward.
that you're crazy, the crazy part, but I did not write.
Yeah, you wrote a nasty note.
Oh,
Whether
no.
you were crazy.
Yeah, I
so
mean,
you
I
wrote
did
crazy.
say-
Told it empty.
Because you know why?
I'm speaking.
Okay.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Paula Haywood says neighbor Mary Ann Wigner pepper sprayed her during an argument over garbage cans. Mary Ann claims Paula instigated the fight.
Can I ask you a question? Put it down.
Okay.
What's the difference if the condominium where you're living says, please don't use the trash cans, please use the dumpster? What's the skin off your nose in taking your trash and putting it in the dumpster?
Okay, I have pictures. It was in evidence, but basically, and she gave me a note. She has a note that says, you know, the dumpsters are overloaded. We're going to be getting a lock or something because we think other people are using our dumpsters. And, you know, don't put your trash on the ground outside of the dumpster.
So, madam,
so there was
talking
nowhere
about
else.
being civilized. So if you get this note and if the dumpster is full, why don't you say, listen, I got the note and I'd be more than happy to comply, but they're full, so I have to use the cans.
She had never gave me that. I do my job. I was working from 8 to 8, doing caregiving for a handicapped child. And I lost my job, making $100 a night, but I never received that letter. She put that on my door, actually, when she threw the trash back the second time. That was attached to the trash can.
I don't know if I believe you. I think that you copped an attitude. That doesn't mean you're entitled to get sprayed with pepper spray. I'm not there yet, but I believe you copped an attitude. Now, you find the trash on your door. Who threw the trash on her porch?
Bob actually put the bag on her porch and said, please take this trash out to the dumpster where it belongs.
Why would Mr. take the trash and put it on her porch? I mean, that's sort of an aggressive act to take it and toss it on her porch.
I didn't expect him to do that. What happened was that there were previous confrontations with Paula Haywood over parking incidents, and I was attacked by her in my home. She came in my home, she tore the phone off my wall, she jabbed at me, and she socked me in the eye. And then her mother, before the police came out, her mother did the same thing. She walked right in my home. I'm getting ready to pack.
So why, those are the things you want to talk about from before.
Yeah, right. So,
So you're not happy with these people as tenants.
Right, and I've
Okay.
had other...
Now, after she took the trash and tossed it on your porch,
Yes.
what did you do?
I didn't throw it. I put it down in front of her door, and then I walked away.
Go ahead. What happened next?
Then I was with the maintenance man in front of my unit, and I was helping him pick up some weeds and some trash and things. The next thing I know, I felt something behind me. I had, previous to that, picked up some pepper spray because of my previous incidents with her. And so I had the pepper spray in my hand, I heard something, and I turned around, and she has this bag that I had already inspected. In fact, here's the pictures. It has that it was her bag. There were 3 jugs of glass in there. So when I saw her hurling it and it was about ready to come down on me, I pushed the spray. I didn't really know how to use the pepper spray, but I sprayed it. It hit her in the chin. I did see that. It didn't hit her in the eye. It hit her in the chin. The next thing I know, all hell broke loose, and she grabbed a hold of me in the back of my hair. She threw me over the 3-foot iron railing, and she took that can out of my hand, and she beat me. I've got pictures here of what she did to me. I've got bruises on my ribs, my eyes, and my forehead.
Your Honor.
Just a minute. You told your story.
Please get a chance.
Did you see these photographs?
And yes, I did.
Just answer my question.
Yes, I did.
You have seen these. These are pretty serious.
Yes, I saw them.
These are pretty serious.
Okay, can I please say something, Your Honor?
Just a second.
Okay.
I'm speaking. What were you doing yard work holding pepper spray?
Because of some previous incidents with...
You mean you walk around all the time with pepper spray?
I do now, since she came in my home.
You
and
walk
attacked
around
me.
all the time carrying pepper spray?
Not all the time, just if I'm outside doing some work and the parking situation, especially on the weekend, gets pretty bad. And she's not the only one that retaliates. There's 4 of them, and I'm by myself. And these 4 people lash out quite a bit. No one has ever attacked me, though, except for Paula and her mother.
Do you have any photographs of your injuries?
No, let me tell you this. First of all, I'm dark skinned. I did admit I hit her. And no, I did not bruise. She said she hit me, we fought. Yes,
I didn't say. I just asked you
Oh,
a
no, I
question.
don't, because you know why I don't bruise.
The answer is...
No, I mean, I
you
don't.
don't have any
I do have a medical record.
Then I'd like to see it. I'd like to see your medical record.
Okay. And then,
All right, so you went and took x-rays, and the x-rays were normal. Is that right?
It says it was a reversal of and that means it was, I had a sprain. And I wore a hard neck brace for 7 days, and then had to go back, and I wore a soft one for 7 days.
Now, Miss Haywood, when you saw the trash that she had put back on your porch, and you see her walking
I saw her throw it. I mean, I was out the window.
Just answer my question.
Okay,
You're
yes,
not going to think
yes.
faster than I am. I guarantee it, madam. You started this whole problem because you didn't follow the rules.
Her rules?
I'm making that judgment. There were 14 units, and you have the problem. That doesn't mean that you are responsible for your getting sprayed in the face, but I have to find out, when you saw the trash that she admits she put back on your porch, pay attention to me. Pay attention to me. Did you walk down the steps with the trash?
No, it's up the steps. I went up the steps.
You had to walk up?
No, it's like 3 steps. I mean, they're not...
A step is a step. Do you have to walk down the steps to get to where she was, or did you have to walk up the steps to get to where she was?
Both.
I have 3 steps down, then 3 steps up. Okay. And then her door is like 6 feet or 6 feet from the step I threw the bag from while she was inside.
Where was she when you tossed it?
She was inside her house because she came out, the door flew open, I turned around, she sprayed me.
Now, you were doing work with the gardener.
Yes.
You were working with him outside.
Yes.
Don't you think he would have been a good witness here?
Yes. He was let go because of his slowness and independent. He wasn't dependable.
Did he testify at the criminal trial?
Yes, he did.
Yes.
He did?
He testified, and I have all the tapes.
Can you see if you can find that on the tape?
What happened? ¿Qué pasó? Cuando yo miré Marian salió de la puerta. When I saw Marian coming out of the door, diciendo cosas totalmente. They were orally saying things to one another. They were arguing. Did you see how the fight started? ¿Usted cómo empezó la pelea? No, porque cuando ellas estaban... Cuando Marian salió de la puerta, ella también. No, because when Marian came out of the door, yo me volteé. I turned around.
The witness clearly says that he saw you, Miss Wagner, coming out the door.
I was at my door because it's right there in the same general area that the yard is.
I understand that, but he clearly said he saw you coming out the door, which means that you weren't out doing yard work. I have to believe one version or the other, and it seems much more logical to me that you saw the trash being thrown on your door, you ran and you got your pepper spray, and you came out your door, and you sprayed her with it. I say that because if you're outside doing yard work, it means you're working with both your hands, sort of cumbersome to walk around holding a can of pepper spray. In any event, you tell me, Miss Haywood, what you believe your damages were as a result of this unfortunate incident.
I lost my job. I've lost wages. I have a note for my job.
How did you lose your job?
Okay, at the time that I did this happen, I was making, I have it right here, I was making $100 a night.
Just a second. How did you lose your job because
because if she never would have initiated, I was not found guilty. I was found not guilty, or there was charges dropped against Mary Ann. So she was the initiator. None of this would have ever took place, ma'am.
So, just a second. Is your claim here that because you were convicted of one assault, that is with regard to Mr. and that conviction would never have taken place but for the fact that she started this altercation with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that your cause of action here?
Yes, ma'am. And
sorry. You were not incarcerated because of her. You didn't lose your jobs because of her. You overreacted with regard to Mr. You hit him with a rake that they probably considered a dangerous instrument. And you were convicted with regard to that.
I mean, because of the fact this woman her actions caused all this to take place. Because I even have it where he choked me, and I have the testimony.
Let me explain something to you.
Okay, I don't know.
The money that you lost.
She did the wrong thing. She should not have come out her door and sprayed you with the pepper spray. But that doesn't mean that you can sue her because you got into an altercation and then you assaulted somebody else. So your case, Miss Haywood, is dismissed, as is your counterclaim, Miss Wagner. You sprayed her with the pepper spray. She reacted, you got injured, but you were the aggressor with the pepper spray. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. This is case number 448 on the calendar in the matter of Young versus Perry. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
All right. Miss Young, the defendant is your former boyfriend, and you do have a child together.
Yes.
According to your complaint, there came a time when he purchased a car for you. It was a used car. Purchase price of the car was $1,800. Is that correct, sir?
That's correct.
According to you, you gave him a check for $1,008. And he said to you the rest was a gift.
No.
Shh. I said according to her. And then sometime later, he took back the car without your permission. You want to be reimbursed for the $1,008 check that you gave him, as well as for items that you claim were in the car when he repossessed it. Is that your lawsuit?
Yes.
You, on the other hand, Mr. Perry, claim that you did in fact purchase a car for her. She gave you a check for $1,008, and there was an agreement, since you had put this car on your American Express bill, that she would pay you the other $800 before you had to pay your entire American Express bill. She didn't make the payments. You took back the car.
That is correct.
And then you have a countersuit for $750 that you claim is depreciation on the car during the time she drove it. When did you purchase the car, sir?
November the 16th, Your Honor.
And you brought it home to her?
To her residence, right.
Were you living together at the time?
No.
Okay, now he brings the car home to your residence, and you have a conversation. And tell me your version of the conversation.
Okay. He heard of it. I was looking to buy another car. He heard of a really good deal on a particular car, and I was not able to go see the car because I was in school taking final exams. We had a discussion. I said, why don't you go check it out and tell me about it, pay for it, and I'll give you the money back. When he went to the dealership, he called me back and forth, describing the car, describing the mileage, describing how much they wanted for it. And I said, because in the beginning, the whole thing was I was going to purchase. I did have the money. He purchased the car. He came to my residence with the car. And as I was driving back home, I made a statement, you know, you should really just buy this car from me. We've been together for 5 years. You know, you can afford it.
Now, just a second. Now, let's go slowly, Miss Young.
Okay.
You said to him, you should really buy this car for me?
Well, yeah, we have been talking off and on about things that I need that in a relationship people help each other out with.
Tell me about the conversation that you claim you had with him at the house.
Now, after we got to his residence where I was going to drop him off, I said, how much should I make this check out for?
No. You started to say something about we were in a relationship a long time, so I said you really should buy me the car. Right. When did you have this conversation
As
with
I
him?
was taking him home after he got to my house with the car.
Yeah.
And I was taking him back to his house.
So tell me about that conversation. I want to hear What you said to him and what he said to you.
He said that he couldn't do it right then. He wasn't in a position to buy the car.
All right, so
For
you
me.
asked him, you said, you should be a good guy and buy this car for me, and he said no.
Exactly.
All right, so.
Okay, so when I get to his house, I asked him, how much should I make this check out for? He said, he thought for a moment.
Look at me. Look at me.
He thought for a moment, and he said, well, make the check out for $1,000.
No.
It's 1,000.
Listen to me, Mr. Perry. You're going to have an opportunity, but don't interrupt her. Do you understand?
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
The purchase price was $1,807.98. He said, well, make it out for $1,007.98, which is $800 less than the purchase price. After he told me how much to make it out for, he complained on how he felt that he really shouldn't be doing this. And in other words, he kind of got the feeling that he was helping me out, but he kind of didn't want to, but he did because he knew it was, you know, something that I had asked him, if you understand what I mean.
I'm listening.
The rest of it is, again, we never made any agreements on repayment, nothing like that, because the balance of it was a gift.
No, I'll decide whether it was a gift.
Okay.
All right, so what happened with the car?
Right after Christmas, I called the dealership because I had temporary plates in the window, and I'm asking them, where are the plates? I need the plates. They told me that he had picked up the plates 3 weeks prior. I called him at home and asked him, well, why do you have the plates? Why won't you give me the plates in my car? And he got really upset at that point and said, well, my name is on that car too. Well, can I back up? When he gave me the bill of sale, when I gave him the
All the
check,
way back, you wanna
when I
go.
gave him the check, he gave me the bill of sales. I asked him, why is your name on here? He told me that because he put it on his credit card, his name has to go on the registration also, and that he had signed a waiver at the dealership stating that the car was mine. As
Can I
I
see that
said,
bill of sale, please? All right. We're now a month later in December.
yes,
December what?
December 27th.
12/27, he takes back the car.
12/27, we had a discussion on the phone when I was asking him about the plates, that I need the plates, the registration is going to fall, and the dealership said you picked up the plates. Why did you pick up the plates, and why won't you give them to me? He said, well, that car is in my name too. I said, well, we both know the car is mine. You know, it doesn't matter whose name the registration is in. You know, that doesn't matter to me. The car is mine. The next day when I came home from work, my garage was open and the car was gone. I knew he had took the car. However, I filed a police report for a stolen vehicle. The police in my city told me that even if I had to pay 90%, he paid 10% because there's 2 names on the registration, that they cannot put a stolen vehicle suit on that, that they can only do the criminal trespassing and taking it without permission.
Okay. Now, what items do you claim were in the car when he took it?
Okay, our son's child seat is in the car. He has not,
Who purchased that?
he refuses to
Hey!
return it.
I'm sorry.
Child seat. Go ahead.
I also have, it was some cowboy boots in the car. I had bought 2 pair, 1 pair for him, 1 pair for me. He has his. Mine were still in there. I have the receipt for those.
Let me
I bought
see
them
it.
later.
Let me see it. Shh, just a second.
also-
Just a second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. What's next?
I also had my stethoscope because I'm going to nursing school and some school supplies in the car. Also, there is, now I don't know how you got, who he had to get the car, but I also had a gold chain in the car. It's in a box. It was actually a gift for him for Christmas, but we broke up before Christmas, so I never gave it to him.
Wait 1 second. Where is the...
The receipt for that is in the car with the stuff.
Oh, well, you can get another receipt for the chain. What is this bill for Jarp's Western Store? Is that for the boots that you say were still in the car?
Yes.
Were there boots in the car?
No, Your Honor.
No, there weren't.
No.
No, there weren't.
Yes, all of those things.
No, there weren't.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Diana Young says ex-boyfriend Craig Perry stole her Cadillac. Craig says he paid for the vehicle.
Miss Young,
Yes.
the bill for Western boots is dated 12/14.
That's right, before.
Shh.
Okay.
Oh, I understand before. But unless you can come up with a really fast answer as to why you kept brand new cowboy boots in the car for 2 weeks and a brand new gold necklace that you were going to give him for Christmas in the car, in its
Yeah.
box.
Do you want the explanation?
Oh, yeah, I would like the explanation.
I have 2 vehicles. All of those things were in that car. After I purchased it, I left them in the car. And actually, I left a lot of Christmas gifts in the car. And when Christmas came, I took the kids' stuff out, my family things out, and I left certain things in there. The car was in the garage. I drove the van around. I didn't really think nobody would take the car or the stuff in the car.
All right.
I mean, I have new stuff in my other van right now.
Well, that's pretty stupid considering the fact that you already knew that anybody can go into a car and take out stuff from the car. I don't believe that there was anything other than the child seat in the car. What about the stethoscope?
Yes, Your Honor, it was.
That was in
And
the car,
some school-
and that
school
you
things.
have,
Yes.
and that you're going to return.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. Common sense suggests that your gold chain that you bought him for Christmas after you had these
I actually
words
was
on
going
the
to
phone,
return it.
then you have it in your house. And also your new cowboy boots, you bought them on the 14th. What were you
Right.
doing leaving him in the car?
Especially
I just
when I got mine
explained it
December
to you.
No,
17th.
no, no. They weren't a Christmas present for him. You said
No,
you
they
bought
weren't.
2 pair.
Yes.
One for you, one for him.
Yes.
He's wearing his, and you left yours in the car. Why?
There was no reason to take them out.
There was no reason to take cowboy boots into the house? Right. All right. Miss Young,
Yes.
I've been around the block a little bit.
Okay, that's
Okay.
fine.
So far, you're ahead of the game on your $1,008.
Okay.
Stethoscope you're going to get back. Let's get to the child seat. Who bought the child seat?
I did, Your Honor.
Is that correct?
Yes, he purchased it.
You use that child seat?
No, Your Honor, I don't.
Oh, if you don't use it, then you're going to give it back to her.
Yes, I am.
I've been asking
Oh,
him for
fine.
it.
So you're going to give her back her stethoscope, any medical stuff that she has, any notes, any books, and anything else?
The
that
only
were in
thing
car?
that was in the car, Your Honor, was the baby's bag, my son's bag, a stethoscope, like she said, and the car seat itself.
Okay,
That's
you're going to
it.
give those things back to her
Can you
within
ask- I'm
24
sorry.
hours. Yes.
Can you ask him who took the car? Because did you take the car?
Just a second. Don't ask him. You said, can I ask him?
Yes,
I don't
please.
care who took the car. He took it back. He acknowledges he took it back. Okay, Mr. Perry, you tell me about the conversation when you brought the car home.
The conversation when I brought the vehicle home, I spent the night at her house that particular night. We woke up that morning, and she was to drop me off at home, which she did. When we got in front of my home, I'm breaking out the paperwork because she already knew what the total amount was. All of a sudden, now it's like, well, you know, it's getting ready to be close to Christmas time, and my money's kind of short. Huh? What do you mean short? Okay, what can you give me right now? Well, I can give you $1,000 right now, and then I can give you
Miss Young,
$400 payments.
Did you hear what I said?
Yeah,
To
sure.
him? Say the same thing
She
to
said,
you.
I can give you $400 payments. I said, okay, well, that's fine, as long as I get it before the bill is due. She said, oh, I can do that. Okay,
Listen to me. I want to see your American Express bill.
sure, right here.
Thank you.
One is the bill itself, and the other is where I made the payment on the bill.
Okay. So she agreed to make payments on the bill.
She
right?
agreed to
Excuse
make
me.
payments. She never made any payments on it. Every time that I asked about the payments, it's like something come up, something come up. I do have a 17-year-old son with her, okay, which I love very much. I'm trying to deal with her in the situation, okay? I did not start sweating her until after she started constantly asking me about the license plates to the vehicle. I said, Diane, I have the license plates to the car. She said, well, I tell you what, I'm going to report the license plate stolen. I said, what do you mean you're going to report the license plate stolen? She said, you keep the license plates. I'm going to report them stolen because the title was coming to my house in the first place, and I'm not going to give you any more money on the vehicle. I said, how can you do that? She said, because I called down there and had the address changed, because it originally is in my address.
Okay. You took back the car.
I took back the car, yes.
All right, Mr. Perry, this is not a very difficult case. She drove the car for approximately a month, is that
That's
right?
correct.
Your counterclaim is dismissed for $750 for depreciation on the car. It's nonsense. You know it's nonsense, and I know it's nonsense. Okay? The items that were in the car when you took back the car, because I do find that there was an agreement that she would pay you the additional $800, I believe.
Excuse me.
Put your hand down.
That is not true.
Put your
Why
hand.
would you lie?
Hey, look at me. Don't speak. I'm ruling. I listen to you. I listen to you. Now you listen to me. I do believe that there was an agreement to pay off
That is not true.
the additional $800 for the car. You, Ms. Young, are absolutely entitled to your $1,008 back. You are absolutely entitled to your medical equipment that was in the car that the defendant is going to return to you. And he has indicated that despite the fact that he purchased the car seat, that also will be returned to you. I do not believe that you left a brand new gold chain or brand new boots for weeks in your car. I think that's a lot of baloney. So, I am entering a judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,008, and I am dismissing your counterclaim for the car's depreciation.
Your Honor, can I say one thing? Her name, by her name still being on the title of the vehicle, is it in a way possible that she can sign off on that title by me giving her, refunding her the money?
Oh, yeah, do you have that?
No, I don't have anything.
All right,
Back
very,
up.
very easy. Miss Young, With the entry of this judgment in the amount of $1,008, do you agree that you will relinquish all title and interest in the car that is currently in the defendant's possession?
I have no problem with that.
So the answer is yes, you will.
Sure, I will, yes.
Yes, you will. Then that will be part of the order, that the plaintiff agrees that upon receipt of $1,008, she will, in fact, sign over title to the defendant. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
You lied. First of all, I hate that it had to go this far. Second of all, he lied.
I think the judge was very fair, and she saw right through her lying.
There was no agreement for this vehicle, and he knows it, and I know it. There was no payment arrangements.
There was a verbal agreement.
There was no agreement at all, and you know it, Craig.
I'm lying, Dinah?
Yeah.
And now the next case.
All parties on Wandick versus Munoz.
19-year-old Alicia Schmidt is suing her former friend, 19-year-old Stephanie Camisera, for unpaid babysitting fees. Stephanie says it's Alicia's own fault that she didn't get paid.
Do you need a shawl?
No.
Did you get confused as to where you were going today?
No.
That's the way you think you should go to court?
No.
She actually allowed you to babysit for her children?
Her child, yes.
Anyway, you claim she owes you for some babysitting. She says that the state was supposed to pay you, but you didn't fill out the appropriate paperwork. That's your defense, right?
Yeah, she filled it out, but
She filled it out wrong? I could believe
it
that.
never went through.
So your agreement was she was going to babysit for your child and she was going to get paid by the state because you were doing some work fair?
I was working at Sunoco, and
What is that?
It's a convenience store.
What were you doing at the store?
Cashier.
How much were you earning?
$7.25
an hour.
Yeah.
And how much were you bringing home every week?
Between $200 and $250.
And who else were you living with?
Just me and my son.
Were you paying rent?
Yes.
How much?
$219.
In an apartment?
Yes.
Where do you come from?
Buffalo, New York.
Isn't it cold in Buffalo?
It's getting warmer.
Now, how long did you watch the baby?
Huh? Oh. Sorry.
How long did you watch the baby?
For a month and a half.
Is that what you do for a living, babysit?
No. I
Well, what
did
do you
it because me and her have been friends since we were like 12, 13 years old, and to help her out.
Well, the state didn't pay you. So did you tell her that you thought she should pay you?
Yeah, I did. And I told her when she got her taxes back this year to give me money out of her taxes for that, and then I would leave it alone, and she didn't do that.
Did you get money back from your taxes?
Yes.
How much did you get?
$750 around.
Did you think you should give your friend some money?
I never told her I was going to pay her.
Well, you told her that she was going to get paid for watching your son.
Not out of my money.
Well, she's going to get paid out of your money. You got paid. She wasn't doing this as a favor. She was doing it because she expected to get paid. And if the state didn't pay her for some reason and you did not follow up, which I assume you didn't, is that right?
I called many times to try and see why it wasn't coming.
And so
we
did
both
you,
did.
Did you?
My case was being closed at the time.
So you didn't get an answer?
Nope.
So now you have to pay her.
Why would I pay her when I never said anything about paying her?
I just tried to explain it to you. And I want you to try to put on your listening ears. She was babysitting for your child for money. The state was supposed to pay her. She filled out the forms according to what you told me. You said you called many times. You didn't get an answer as to why they weren't paying her. And then you stopped calling because you were closing your welfare case. That doesn't mean she doesn't get paid because she did the work for you. So you have to pay her. Do you understand?
Yeah. I mean...
And you got back $750 in your taxes. So you're going to get paid, but you're not going to get paid $2,000 because that's ridiculous. You didn't earn $2,000 probably a whole year. But you have to get paid something for the work that you did. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $350. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
21-year-old Kristen Capazola is suing her former roommate, 22-year-old Joshua Courier, for rent, a broken computer, and the cost of pay-per-view adult movies.
You know, I decided that we could save the judicial system a whole bunch of money and just have much smaller apartments that were cheaper, that people could have themselves so they don't have to have roommates. And we would be able to save as a community fortunes of money because we wouldn't have all these cases. Then I would, however, be out of a job, and my children would be very unhappy. Ms. Capizzola, the defendant used to be your roommate. You claim he owes you some money. He owes you money for rent and utility bills, and he damaged your computer, and he downloaded porn on your computer, and it was very messy. Mr. Courier says, I'm cute. Aside from saying I'm cute, he says, well, he sort of ran into some difficulty, and he's going to explain it all to me. This is the girlfriend?
That's a friend.
This is the girlfriend that downloaded the porn on the computer.
Nah.
What do you do, Mr. Courier?
Cell phones.
Cell phones for whom?
T-Mobile.
How long have you been working for them?
Like 2 months.
How much do you make at T-Mobile?
It's hourly, like $8 or $9 an hour.
You take home a paycheck every couple of weeks. How much is your paycheck?
Roughly $8.50.
And who do you live with?
I live by myself.
What is this? I mean, is that a question or is that a statement?
I live by myself.
And how much rent do you pay?
It's $6.50.
You have a car?
No.
Have any other big expenses?
No.
Great. So you would say you're on your feet financially?
Yes.
Great. That's really good. Because one of the things that Ms. Capizzola says is that you told her you would pay her back for covering your rent when you got on your feet.
Yes.
She's got to back into it, that's all. You know, you can't get on there right in the front. Right in the front's boring. You got to back into it.
There you go.
Right?
That's right.
All right, Ms. Capizzola, when did you start to room with, and it was just a roommate, is that right?
Yes.
Just a roommate. The charming Mr. Courier.
October of 2006, he contacted me looking for a place to stay. I offered mine and my mother's home, with her permission, of course. We lived together there for approximately 3 weeks and then signed a lease in mid-November to move out.
How long had you known him?
About 3 years.
From where?
We met at a party.
You thought he was cute and nice?
Yeah.
He is. Yeah. He's just a mooch. Yeah. So, you moved into this place in
November.
Both of you signed the lease?
Yes, we did.
Now, he paid his rent for a while, and then according to him, he hit some hard times.
The rent was never paid to begin with. The first month we were there, he mysteriously lost a money order, and I was forced to pay the entire months of that rent.
How much was that?
That was $320. But the next 2 months went well. He did
Great.
pay rent on time.
Great. Well, that's what he says pretty much. Until April of 2007.
Correct.
What happened in April 2007?
My check bounced. She called me and told me that it bounced when I was at work and that we need to figure out how we were going to pay it. And so showed up at the leasing. I don't know, like a week went by. She called me and told me...
Get over, please. You know I'm getting older by the second.
Okay,
Did she cover your rent?
In April?
Yeah.
No.
You paid it?
No.
Who paid it?
Nobody.
How could you not pay rent? Did you pay the rent?
Yes, I did.
Of course she did. You mean the landlord says you're such a nice guy, I'm going to let you just breeze over? How much rent did you cover for him in April?
For March and April, I covered $960. Total, I covered $1,600 and six.
Now, according to you, you don't really deny this in your answer. You said, I always paid my rent until April when I was having money issues. Kristen told me not to worry. She told me just to get back on my feet.
Yes.
Well, you're back on your feet, right?
Yes.
So you got to pay her the rent.
I don't feel like I owe her the money because she told me not to worry about it. She said, sign yourself off the lease and then move out by the 1st. And I got the rest. And she was there.
1st of what?
The 1st of May.
1st of May?
Yeah.
Well, we're talking about March and April.
When I paid March rent, my check bounced. In April,
Well, I understand that.
And then April, I had like a couple days until rent was due, and that's when the check bounced. That's when she called me and said the check bounced.
We're talking about rent for half the month when you first moved in, when you didn't have it, and for 2 months,
Yeah.
March and April, and you moved out in May. Is that right?
Yes.
That's all I'm talking about. Do you have proof that you paid that rent?
No.
And are you back on your feet?
Yes.
Perfect. Cute, but no cigar. What else do you want from him?
I would like half of the Comcast bill that I paid for 5 months. The agreement was we wanted cable, we wanted internet, we wanted a phone, so...
You should have turned it off. You should have turned it off. If he wasn't paying it and he was not being terribly responsible with money, then you should have turned it off. You don't need cable.
Right.
Hum.
I would at least like to be reimbursed for the porn that was rented on our cable bill.
Yes, sir. Now, who rented the porn?
My ex-girlfriend.
And your ex-girlfriend was your visitor?
Yes.
And did she watch this all by herself?
Yes, I had no recollection that she was watching it. I
Well,
didn't
how
know.
do you know it was her?
She told me. But she told me she paid it, so I didn't.
How much was the porn?
$81.90.
$1,681. Your guest? Your worries. What else?
My computer that is no longer in commission. I had to purchase a new computer. My computer is basically totaled. My mom was there when it happened.
Well, what happened?
Him and one of his friends were downloading music, and the blue screen of death came on, and the computer never worked again.
The permission to do that?
He had my permission to be on the computer, yes. But I had no idea that viruses were being downloaded. And the second it happened, he told me, and he's like, I'll help you pay for half of it.
What happened, sir?
Actually, the night, I guess, it crashed, I wasn't even there. I came home, like, afterwards, and her mom and my friend was there, and they were watching TV. And they said the computer did not work. And I said, okay, what happened? And they said it just crashed. And I said, okay. And then she was like blaming my friend. And then I was like, you know, that's not right. She downloaded music on it too, so it doesn't matter.
And that's why I was only suing for half.
Did you?
Yes.
Forget it. All right, you all for the rent and you all for your girlfriend's porn. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,681. Thank you.
Jessica Eveler says her half-sister, Melanie Zampino, stole furniture during tenancy in her home. Jessica claims she kicked Melanie out because she was using drugs.
Miss Eveler, the defendant is your half-sister, and according to what I read, you only recently, in the last few years, had a relationship with each other.
Yes.
According to your complaint, you rented a home that you own to your sister with the understanding that she would have an option to buy it after she paid rent for a while.
Yes.
Subsequently, within a relatively short period of time after she moved in, you evicted her. But your lawsuit wants your furniture back. And you say when you left some furniture in the basement that was yours. You allowed her to use some furniture, but when she moved out, she took your things. The defendant says that you gave her a living room set, that the bedroom furniture that you claim you want back was actually repossessed by the company that you had rented it from, so she doesn't have that. And she is counterclaiming because she says that because of your precipitous behavior, which was not warranted by anything she did, she was forced to move. She had moving expenses. She was forced to move very quickly, and she wants to be compensated for that and all of her emotional distress. When did you lease her your house?
It was in July.
And when did you evict her?
I gave her notice September 10th.
Had she paid rent in August?
Yes.
Had she paid rent in September?
No.
Why did you evict her?
There was drug usage going on, and I only agreed to 4 people living in the house.
How did you know there was drug use going on in the house?
August 24th, my uncle had came there, and they smoked it right in front of him.
Smoked what?
Pot.
Who did?
Melanie and a guy named by the name of Brandon.
You agreed, you said, for 4 people to live in the house?
Yes.
Who were the 4 people?
Her, Christina New Church, which is right over there, and their...
Is this a friend?
It's my roommate. We've lived together for 9 years.
Okay.
And they have each 1 child.
How many people were living there?
Between 7 and 8.
Who else was living there?
I got 2 people that were not even residing there, a piece of mail of theirs.
Can I see?
Mm-hmm.
Who's Brandon?
My cousin. He did not live there. He stayed there occasionally during the week because Christina works 3rd shift, and he tended the kids. I did pay him.
Where did he live otherwise?
He lived with his father.
Was Joseph?
My husband. Some of my utilities were in his name. My husband and I have been separated for...
Tell me about the furniture.
We did have a verbal agreement about the living room set. If she purchased the home, it would be added in with the cost of the house. However, she didn't buy the house, so the furniture didn't come with the house. And I did try to call her.
Go ahead. Let's deal with the living room furniture first.
Okay. When we discussed the house, she said to me, you can have my washer and dryer, you can have my living room set, you can have the bedroom set if you pay the last $150 to Color Time where she was renting her bedroom set from. I said, I have an antique set, I don't want the bedroom set, but I will take the living room set because mine is used. The living room set was stained with marker. One of her children must have wrote on it. Her husband works on cars. There's massive grease marks on the one where he must have sat regularly, which I have all pictures to show. She gave me the living room set. She never said if you purchase the home or if we don't come back, because when she actually on September 10th asked me to move out, she told me it was because her grandmother threw her out of the house that she was staying in South Carolina. I do not use drugs, and I'm
Can I see a
appalled.
picture of this living room set that she wants back?
Of just the living room set in question?
Mm-hmm.
Because I did bring pictures of my old living room set just to show you why I would switch.
You're talking about the sofas and the end tables as well?
And the coffee table. And I did attempt to take pictures of the markings.
For when I left, there might have been a little bit of like grease stains, but there was no marker on my living room set. It was only...
When did you purchase it?
February of 2 years ago.
You have a receipt for it? Mm-hmm. Can I see it, please? And who lived in the house with you?
My husband and my 2 children.
How old are your children?
1 and 2.
This doesn't tell me when you purchased it. Take that, please, Bud. Return that to her. I don't know what this furniture looked like when you left, but certainly a month later, it looks pretty used and pretty abused to me. And when you have 2 young children, that's what furniture like this looks like. Certainly not worth much. You'd have to pay somebody to take it out. You would. You'd have to pay somebody to take out these 2 sofas. What's next? What about the bedroom's furniture?
I purchased that, and I actually have the original bill. And when I got into my house in late September, I came to clean it up and stuff. The bed was set up, but it was sliced. The bed was set up in the basement like someone had been sleeping there.
So what are you talking about, just the mattress?
The mattress and the headboard was damaged, and I have pictures of that.
Who slept on the mattress?
When we lived there, me and my husband.
When I lived there, no one. I had my own set.
Fine. Did you slice the mattress?
I did not. I also have a letter from Color Time stating that they repossessed her bedroom furniture that she left in the basement.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about the mattress.
Oh.
And they took the dressers, by the way, because I had asked them to take the dressers.
We're not talking about a whole bunch of money. I mean, we're certainly not talking about $3,500. Maybe we're talking about $100. I'm just trying to figure out why we're all here.
I'd like to make a statement on that.
Go ahead.
Judge Judy, because I feel that we're here for the same reason that Jessica, the only time she ever interacts with me is when there's trouble to be made. When she needs something, she'll call me. When she needs a babysitter, she'll call me. I actually paid money to find her because I wanted to know my sister. And the only thing that's coming out of this, no matter how you look at it, is a destroyed relationship.
That's unfortunate. When did she tell you to move?
September 10th.
And when did you move?
She gave me until September 28th when she started calling the law and having her stepfather threaten to put me out the quote-unquote old-fashioned way.
Did anything happen September 10th that precipitated this?
No.
I basically had coming back to Pennsylvania. My grandma her name's on the house also, so she had a decision to make, and she made that.
That doesn't give me an answer. That's a lot of double talk. You were coming back to live there. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. So you were coming back to live there, so you told her to move.
Yes. Well, the drug usage was the reason why.
No. Because if the drug usage was the reason why, you would have told her to move on August 24th or August 25th. You didn't. Or the 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. You told her to move on September 10th because you had to come back to your house. So stop making up excuses. You get it?
Yes.
And you had a responsibility to give her 30 days notice. You didn't do that.
In that town, you only have to legally give 10 days.
Because you're not allowed to legally rent without a renter's permit, and she didn't have one.
Not nice. Okay. So you get nothing. Not even the $100 that maybe your mattress is worth if it was destroyed, and maybe your coffee tables were worth. Because what you did was the wrong thing, because they're living there with, let's say, 4 people, including 2 children. 2 children who by September 10th have started school, have settled in, and because you can't live where you were going to live and had to come home, you told them to move and gave them what I consider no notice. Not even the right thing to do to a stranger, but to do to somebody who's related to you? Outrageous. Now, where did you move?
I live in Dover. I'd like not to say exactly where because I don't...
Fine. Did you pay her September's rent?
I did. I have that here.
Can I see it, please?
Then she didn't pay August. She paid 1 month.
How many months' rent did you pay?
I only paid September because when she moved, I was supposed to move in September 1st. When she moved, she had gone down to South Carolina and came back. There was some, flooding. People were messing around with her house. She said, Melanie, please just move in as soon as possible. I had to clean up as well.
Just a second. When did you move in?
Mid-July.
Well, then you should have paid 2 months' rent. You only paid 1. You saved a little bit of money so that you had enough money to put down on another apartment. Gonna entertain.
Yes, the only problem that I had was just finding something. I mean, we moved, we
And you
lived
found
just fine.
something?
Yes.
That's good.
Can I say something, Matt? The electric and gas was shut off September 22nd. When my grandfather went the 26th, everything was moldy, the freezer, everything. So they were out for a
Listen to
while.
me very carefully. You did the wrong thing. You wanted to move back to your house. You wanted her out. It had nothing to do with drugs or other people living there. It had to do with you coming home because you had no place else to live. So I don't know why you're suing her, because the truth of the matter is, if you hadn't brought this lawsuit, she wouldn't have counterclaimed. She was willing to forget it.
Yes, I made I
Forget
redid an
it.
entire
It's over.
room.
It's over. You did the wrong thing. You owe an apology, not a lawsuit. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Cynthia Aseltine and her daughter, 19-year-old Danielle Ireland, are suing Cynthia's former landlord, Sidney Neese, for the return of a security deposit, moving expenses, and damages from an assault.
All rise. Now, this is case number 40 on the calendar in the matter of Aseltine Ireland versus Nice. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Who is Miss Ireland?
I'm Miss Ireland.
Aselton?
Aseltine is my mother.
Miss Aseltine, according to your complaint, you, not your daughter, but you, rented a room from the defendant.
Yes, ma'am.
And you found that room on something on the internet called Craigslist?
Yes, ma'am.
And signed a month-to-month lease.
I did.
When did you sign that?
March 1st, 2007.
Where had you been living before that?
I was residing in an apartment which I shared with my daughter, and she decided to move out on her own and get her own apartment. So I thought it would be good for me to move into a place where I could save a little money, maybe meet some new people, until I was able to purchase my own home.
How long had you been renting rooms?
I've been renting rooms for about 4 years.
What kind of property do you have?
I have a home in Elk Grove, California.
How many bedrooms?
5 bedrooms.
How many tenants do you have?
Currently 1.
How many tenants did you have when you had Miss Aseltine?
Just myself and Cindy.
And it was a month-to-month tenancy?
It was.
It is your claim that Miss Neese terminated your tenancy without proper notice, and you want moving expenses, your security deposit back, and you want damages because she, you claim, assaulted both you and your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Neese says that you are not entitled to your security deposit back because you promised that you were going to stay through April, and you didn't. It is her claim that you actually assaulted her. So let's find out when the trouble began. You moved in March 1st.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
About approximately a week after I moved in, I noticed some strange behavior from Miss Neese. When I was in the home alone, and especially when I had company over, I would notice some outbursts. It seems she was talking to herself, kind of laughing out loud. She'd walk through the home when I'd have company over and bang anything that would make noise, opening and closing compulsively the garage door. The washer was close to my room, so she'd slam the washer door up and down.
Got it. Let's move on.
Okay. And I became just really uncomfortable in the home. I'd find myself, I'd sign up for overtime, I'd go to the gym, anything to avoid coming home because her behavior was really disturbing and uncomfortable. And so I noticed that it became more obvious when I had company over, so I decided to talk to her about it. So maybe I was doing something wrong. And so I came home, and so I knocked on her door. She didn't answer, so that's when I called her cell phone, and I found that she was actually at home in her room. And she came out, and I had a conversation with her, and I said, is there something bothering you, lately? Because I've noticed that you've been slamming things around, banging things. And her response was, bang? I don't bang. Bang? I don't bang anything. I said, oh, okay. Well, apparently, when my boyfriend's over, does he make you uncomfortable? No, I don't have a problem with your boyfriend. And I said, well, one night he spent the night here, and it seemed that you were really uncomfortable with that, and that's when I noticed the most noise. She goes, well, I didn't even know he spent the night. And she goes, well, it's in your lease agreement that you can't have any overnight guests. I said, well, I didn't notice that in my lease agreement. I apologize.
Was it in your lease agreement?
It was, ma'am, in my lease agreement.
Okay.
And I said, I respect that. And I said, well, that's something that I'm not sure if I can live with. I apologize. I overlooked that. And I said, if you feel real strong about that, then I think I might have to make a decision to move out. And I would go ahead and give you a proper 30-day notice. And she goes, okay, well, that's fine.
Fine. What day was that? That was in
Okay,
March?
that was of March. I sent her a copy, certified mail, which she...
May I see it, please?
Absolutely. that was sent regular mail as well as certified mail, which I have a receipt there. Miss Niece
Okay.
never picked up the certified copy.
Okay, and you received this letter terminating
Yes.
her tenancy.
Yes, I have
Fine.
it right here.
Good. So what happened?
Okay,
What was
so
next?
things were a little still uncomfortable in the house, so I decided to avoid her as much as possible. About a week after giving that notice to her, I came home and found that she was interviewing another tenant, which I gave her the privacy. I had went and cleaned up and got ready to go back out again.
I haven't
She
even
then,
met you.
she then,
You have a turn. Right now, plaintiff is talking.
Okay.
Go ahead.
after I had finished and cleaned up and the person had left, she had come and spoke with me and said, okay, well, when are you going to be moving your furniture out? I understand, I received your 30-day notice. And I go, well, I can start putting it in storage soon if you really need the space, because she was saying that she wanted to offer that space to the tenant. She goes, well, that's your right to keep it there for the remainder of the month. And, things seemed to be okay then, but she was still exhibiting some behaviors that I just didn't feel that.
I understand. You were moving out for a reason. Keep going.
Absolutely. And so I had received a phone call on March 31st. I was at the gym and I received a message from Miss Niece. And on the message she says that she's demanding that she have a face-to-face meeting with me and discuss the 30-day notice agreement and finalize me moving out. And so I was kind of, I didn't understand.
Just tell me what happened.
Okay, so I called her up and I said, I got your message. What's the deal with me having to come over? And she goes, well, I want you to speak to me face to face. I gave you the same respect when you gave me your 30-day notice. And I said, well, I really don't want to have any confrontation with you. You're making me feel really uncomfortable and threatened. She goes, well, if you do not come home right now, I'm going to lock you out. And I said, you can't lock me out. And she goes, I'm telling you, if you don't come home right now, I'm going to lock you out. At that point, she disconnected the phone call. Me and my boyfriend were at the gym. I said, come on with me. She's threatening to lock me out. I need to go home. When we got there, me and my boyfriend entered the home, and Miss Niece was in the kitchen. She had already taken all my groceries out of the fridge and out of the cupboard and had set them up on the counter as if she was moving me out. I said, what are you doing? Please put my things back. You can't move me out. What's the problem? And at that point, she came around the counter of the kitchen with her finger in my face, and she goes, girl, you better shut your mouth, because in the name of Jesus, I'm going to smack the devil out of you. At that point, my boyfriend placed his body in between us because she was this close in my face, and he's that face to me, and he's like trying to block her. And she turned around, and she swung about backside of him and hit me upside the head. At that point, I grabbed my cell phone. She grabbed her cell phone. I called the police. She called 911. The police arrived, a female police officer. Police officer went and spoke to Miss Niece. Miss Niece had stated that she was going to be locking me out of the house, and the officer had stated, legally, ma'am, you cannot lock her out of the house. And she goes, don't you tell me how to run my household.
Can I see the police report, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when did the incident happen with your daughter?
Same day.
Same day?
It was a little bit later on that day when I had came. The police officers had actually left at a certain point, and my mother had called my boyfriend and get a U-Haul to get all of her things, and we both ended up showing up at the exact same time as my mom with the U-Haul, and that's when I arrived.
And what happened with Miss Niece?
Well, we came into the house, and she was in her bedroom, had shut the door, and was in her bedroom, like the police officer told her to stay in the room. I went into this little front area that was right next to her bedroom door and started to grab furniture. And I grabbed this big glass top that was to one of my mom's coffee tables, and I started going out. And then Miss Niece came out of her room and was really mad and angry, and was directing a lot of anger at myself and at Ryan, saying that he didn't have any right to be in the house, and that was saying something about how we couldn't go through the garage door. She was telling us we had to go through the front door for some reason, and I was standing on my way to the garage door. She was really livid and saying that we couldn't be in our house, that we had no right to be in there, and then she comes up behind me and grabs me by the back of my neck and kind of pushes me and then kind of hits me. And then Miss Niece turned around to my mom and starts getting in her face, and she's throwing her hands wildly and stuff, and then she goes to make a fist like she was going to strike my mom, and I grabbed her arm and I put it down and I said, don't touch my mom. And then it just turned into a scuffle where she was just being really wild.
Okay, Miss Niece, I would like you first to tell me your version of the events of the 31st of March.
Okay, Saturday, March 31st, I initiated a call to Cindy to finalize things in the matter. She had sent me a letter March 20th indicating that she was going to move out at the end of April. And so I wanted to finalize things as far as obtaining the rent for April.
She already told you that she was going to give you the rent April 3rd in the letter.
Right. In my lease, it indicates, in the initial agreement that we signed, it indicates that if any rent is not paid time or in full, that they will forfeit the security. That's in item number 2 in our
What
lease.
difference does that make? She already said, I'll pay you your rent on April 3rd. It's in her letter that she sent to you.
Because I just like to do things decently and in order, so...
This is decently and in order. You called her on her cell phone.
Yeah, I called her on Saturday and I asked, because she had initiated an appointment in mid-March. She wanted to see if her boyfriend could stay overnight, and she knocked on my door. Actually, I was napping, and she knocked on my door until...
Don't interrupt her. I'm just asking you what you told her on March 31st. You called her, she's at the gym.
On March 31st, I asked her if she had any time in the afternoon. I said I'd appreciate if we could finalize things and, you know, get the rent. So then she started cursing at me, and she started getting really violent on the phone and calling me up.
Did you tell her she had to come home or else you were going to change the locks?
No, absolutely not.
Did you take her food out of the refrigerator? I'm speaking.
No, I didn't actually.
Did you take her food out of the refrigerator and place it on the counter?
No, not...
Did you tell the police when they arrived that you were planning on changing the locks and locking her out?
When she started cursing at me on the phone, because she, by the way, she's been pretty violent before, so when she came home from the gym, she came home and she kicked me, which I have a photo of the bruise on my leg from when she kicked me then. At that point, I had called the police, and because I had wanted to have her arrested. So when they came over, they kind of separated us, got both versions of what had happened, and so I didn't have her arrested at that point.
The police found you very agitated, Ms. Neese. According to all 3 police officers who arrived at the scene...
Well, she assaulted me. I have pictures. She admitted biting me on the arm.
There was an altercation. There's no question there was an altercation.
Well, I actually didn't touch her or her daughter. Both of them came home. She called her daughter, and they both came in, and then they assaulted me in my room. And that's why I had called the police a second time. When I was on the phone with the police, I was terrified. They said, "Where are you?" I said, "I locked myself in my room," because I was afraid they were going to come in again. I have pictures of the door and from when they tried to barge in my door. The bruises, they hit me.
What do you do for a living, Ms. Neese?
I'm an insurance broker.
For a company?
For myself. I have my own agency, and I'm going to school for court reporting.
So you operate out of your home or out of an office?
I'm usually on the road, but my office is out of my home, yes.
So you don't have an office other than at your home?
Correct.
And how long have you been doing that?
5 years.
Make a living at that?
Yes.
The last time you had a tenant prior to the plaintiff, what was that tenant's name?
Prior to Cynthia? She was the first tenant in that home.
So you'd never had a tenant?
Not in this home. When I was in the Bay Area, I've had tenants. She was the first tenant in this home.
Judge, I have some information regarding the tenants in the Bay Area.
Cynthia Aseltine and daughter Danielle Ireland are accusing Cynthia's former landlord, Sidney Neese, of 2 assaults.
Now, you wanted to say something?
Yes, San Mateo County Courts, there's 3 claims regarding Ms. Neese in regards to tenant-landlord. 2 times she was a defendant, and 1 she was a plaintiff regarding the same situation, withholding deposits and
see
so
that?
forth. Actually, I didn't print it out, but if you go to San Mateo County Courts, it is public record.
You had 3 landlord and tenant actions while you were there? One as a plaintiff and one as a defendant?
I'm not sure what she's referring to, but it was just probably a lack of, you know, my income. But with regard to this...
No, I'm not talking about... I'm asking you whether you had 3 previous landlord and tenant actions.
I think there was 1, and it was just because I was having problems, you know, with cash flow, but they have since been paid back.
One was that she put a stop pay on a deposit as a tenant herself.
That sound familiar?
I'm not sure what she's referring to, but I would appreciate if we could talk about this case today and why, you know, I don't believe that I owe her the security deposit.
You absolutely owe her the security deposit. There's no question that you owe her the security deposit.
Okay.
You told her to leave. I've read the police report. You said you wanted her out that day. She left. She did not stay the month of April, despite the fact that she said she was planning on paying April's rent. You absolutely owe her the security deposit. There's no question about that.
Well, because she assaulted me, and I had to put out expense. She didn't return the key when she moved out.
I believe that this was an unfortunate circumstance, that everybody's tempers got very flared up.
Actually,
on that.
mine did not.
Well, not according to
And
the
I was
Miss Neese. According to the police, the only
person assaulted by her and her
Miss
daughter,
Neese,
and her boyfriend had to pull them off of me.
And the police department.
when
I'm
she
speaking.
moved
When I'm
out-
speaking, don't speak.
Okay.
Clearly, not only did you claim that they were assaulted, you
I have
also. I'm
photographs of all
speaking.
the
I'm
assaults.
speaking. Do you hear me speaking? You also claim conspiratorial behavior on the part of the police. You weren't satisfied with the police officer who came. You demanded their supervisor. 2 supervisors arrived. They couldn't calm you down. You demanded their supervisor. So everybody is in a conspiracy against you. There's something not right, Miss Neese. All of that is clearly contained in the police report. I assume you have a copy of it.
The copy that I obtained from them does not contain that information. That's not what they had given me. They
May
gave
not
me
be what
one
they
line.
gave you, but that's what I have.
Okay, can I show you the pictures of my bruise?
Absolutely.
And actually, I still have them on my body.
Absolutely. Show me.
This is a picture of when she bit me in the arm.
She absolutely acknowledges that she
And
bit you in
then,
the arm, and she
a
says she bit
bruise
you.
on my
I'm
breast.
speaking. Don't you want to hear me speaking? She absolutely acknowledges that she bit you in the arm so that you would let her go.
Absolutely, ma'am.
Okay, can I tell my version of the story, ma'am?
When I
Yes,
contact the
do.
police department.
Okay. What had transpired, basically, the whole issue, when she first, in the initial ad, I indicated no alcohol, no overnight guests, and she breached both of those. She was drinking a lot while she was there, and she was having overnight guests, her boyfriend. And I never even said anything because I didn't want to get into it. But then she mentioned, she talked to me that one day, and I said, no overnight guests. Are you okay with that?
So she gave you
said,
notice.
yes.
Listen, I got it. I have other things to do today. She said, I'm moving. She sent you an appropriate notice that she's moving. Move on with it. Get to the 31st.
Right, but then she didn't pay the rent, and so I wanted
No. She has no obligation to pay the rent on March 31st. None. And if you demanded that she come home from the gym...
I didn't demand that she came home. I called her on the cell phone, and I said, do you have any
Oh,
time
yeah.
this afternoon? What's your availability?
I don't think you should have roommates. I don't think you should rent rooms to anybody. I don't. I think that you are a very, very nice lady who clearly should live alone, not with anybody else, because you can't make rules for adults. I mean, she's an adult lady. She's not a teenager. You didn't rent to a teenager. And if you don't like other people living in your house because other people aren't going to do things the way you do,
Well, it's not that I want to do things the way I want to do.
Don't
But when I
rent
rented
a room.
They said no overnight guests. When
Absolutely
I rented,
right.
They set their
And she said
guidelines,
I
and
didn't.
I honored them.
So
if she didn't want to.
Do you take medication? Do you take medication?
No, ma'am.
You should. Because I've already told you 4 times, this is the 4th time, that when I start to speak, you have to stop.
Okay.
You can't. That's something that's not working right. You owe her security deposit, which was how much?
It was $500.
Did either of you seek any medical treatment for your injuries?
No,
Yes, I did.
I'm not talking about you. Now, where did you move when you moved?
I was actually homeless for 8 days. I was allowed to stay at my boyfriend is roommate with another roommate, and he was
fine.
out of town.
That's fine. Don't make up things as we go along. You weren't homeless because you were able to sleep someplace.
Well, yes. I mean, I was without a permanent...
Fine, and then you found someplace.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Whole thing is very, very unfortunate. Really, very unfortunate. You want to say anything to me? No. You want your security deposit back?
Absolutely.
You got it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. Your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
Why does that excuse you may step out?
24-year-old Jeffrey Dexter is suing his ex-girlfriend, 24-year-old Helen Garlinghouse, for the return of his stereo and furniture. Helen says Jeffrey won't return her property either.
All right, let's see if we can get a consensus on some facts here. How long did you and the defendant live together, sir?
Me and Miss Garlinghouse lived together approximately 7 years.
How long did you and the plaintiff live together?
We were together for about 6 years, but we lived together off and on. There's times where he moved out for months at a time.
You have 1 child together.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right? How old is that child?
5.
Boy or a girl?
Girl.
Mr. Dexter, it is your complaint that Miss Garlinghouse has some of your property.
Yes,
Miss
ma'am, she
Garlinghouse
does.
says you have some of her property. And in addition to having some of her property, you've been harassing her. She's got a counterclaim. The 2 of you come here after creating this mess and want somebody else to clean it up. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, ma'am.
So let me see if I can do this relatively quickly and painlessly for me mostly.
Jeffrey Dexter says his ex-girlfriend, Helen Garlinghouse, owes for the return of his property. Helen is countersuing for the return of a rifle.
What property does she have that you claim belongs to you?
She has my stereo, which I have a receipt for.
Stereo. And when did you buy the stereo?
2003, I believe.
When did you and Miss Garlinghouse separate?
In 2005.
When in 2005?
End of April, beginning of May.
So this stereo provided music for the 2 of you for about 2 years.
Yeah.
Who do you live with?
I have my own residence, and then half the time, I part-time live with John.
Who's John?
He's my boyfriend.
You have your own residence and you part-time live with John. What part of the time?
Mainly weekends or sometimes through the week.
Why?
I don't like being at my residence that I am right now. I mean, I worry about Jeff driving by my house, people stopping by. He's actually sent 2 different people over to John's house trying to find out if I'm there, if John's there, if John lives there, what John's last name is. And the manager...
Where is your child when you're moving back and forth?
My child's with me.
You should think you ought to start acting responsibly for your 5-year-old?
I do act responsible for my 5-year-old.
Not if you're shuttling her back and forth between your house and his house.
She has a room at each house. She has belongings at each house.
I'm just going to give you a very simple phrase, and that is, if you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory. You know what that means?
Mm-hmm.
You don't think that they keep me in this job because I'm stupid, right?
No.
Right. Did you buy the stereo?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
How did the stereo come to be left at her house?
During the process of us breaking up, I moved my clothes and some personal belongings, took with me at the time. I come back to retrieve my other stuff, and she had called the cops on me, stating I was trying to beat her windows in. I was trying to beat her windows in. My cousin was there. He wasn't able to appear today. I went to get my stuff. She would not let me have access to the house.
Now I got it. Don't say anything.
Okay.
Stereo. What else?
The couch.
Couch. When did you buy the couch?
Shh,
I don't want to hear you. You see I gave you a chance to talk and he was quiet? Button up.
2005, like January, February.
What else?
There's miscellaneous CDs. I have several items.
Listen to me. I'm not interested in your miscellaneous items.
Okay.
You have a 7-year relationship and a 5-year-old child. Don't bother me with apple cores and CDs. I'm not interested in that. Stereo and a sofa that you say you bought in 2005.
Yes, ma'am.
And what items do you say he has of yours?
He has my .30-06 rifle that he had given me for Christmas.
Just a minute. He has a rifle?
Mm-hmm. It's a hunting rifle.
Did you give her a rifle for Christmas?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Yes, he did. I wish I had the videotape. I don't have the videotape on me.
A rifle? What else?
My luggage that he had bought me, he took out of the garage the day he came and got his car.
Luggage. What else?
And my ball hitch that when he came and got his car, he wasn't able to move his car. And
a ball hitch?
It's a ball hitch.
You know what that is?
Yes, Your Honor. It plugs into the tow package on the back of a Blazer.
Who has the Blazer?
I do.
Has it.
Who has the ball hitch?
I have it.
Okay. What else?
And then that's all I have except for the harassment.
You're not going to harass her anymore, are you, sir?
I have not been harassing her, ma'am.
If you are or have been harassing her, you're not going to harass her anymore?
No, ma'am.
All
Your
right,
Honor, he's broken
first I'm speaking. First you get the lecture, then I'll deal with the property. Your 5-year-old daughter doesn't need this aggravation, needs for you to behave like adults. I assume that when you had this child, you didn't bring her into the world to make her miserable. What you're doing is making her miserable. You have to start acting responsibly. A child needs a home, not 2 homes. Not unless you're taking her to the French Riviera for the spring and Palm Beach for the winter. Do you understand? If you're taking her across town to live part-time with... John, that's unreasonable. Child needs a home, not 3 homes, 1, 2, 3. Do you understand? So, grow up. And a child doesn't need to have a stressed parent, which means if you're stressing her, cut it out. You made a mistake, put a period, and move on. I'm going to prepare an order. Listen very carefully. You want your luggage and ball hitch back?
Yes, ma'am.
You want your stereo and couch back?
Yes, ma'am.
You can make an exchange 5 days from today.
She didn't pay.
I'm speaking. Listen to me very carefully. Grow up. Stereo, sofa, luggage, ball hitch. They either get exchanged at the same time or they don't get exchanged. Then just say, I'm going to buy a new stereo, a new sofa, I'm going to buy new luggage and a ball hitch. Do we understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Grow up. Goodbye.
Ryan Lapp claims his ex-girlfriend's friend, Mark Childress, entered his home without permission and assaulted him. Mark does not dispute the charge.
Mr. Lapp, it is your claim that the defendant assaulted you in your home.
Yes, it's true.
Mr. Childress acknowledges that he came to your home. He said you became confrontational.
Not true at all. Sorry.
Not so sure about it. In any event, what I gather from his answer is if you got a whooping, you deserved it. That'd be a fair statement, sir.
Well, I'm
Let's
disappointed.
see. Mr. Lapp, according to what I read, you and some friends were hanging out in your house. And I don't know what you were doing and hanging around in your house, whether you were drinking or smoking or doing some drugs or whatever you were doing, but you decided to make some prank calls.
Yes.
On what evening was this, sir?
I believe it was on the evening of the 14th of July.
And you made a prank call, one of those prank calls, to the defendant's home. I assume that it's this young lady who was living in your home with you at the time.
Yes, Your Honor.
And she's a married lady?
2 days.
To this gentleman here,
Yes, Your Honor.
who was then stationed in Iraq. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Tell me your name.
Ronald McCart.
What is your rank, sir?
I'm a specialist.
When did you get back from Iraq?
December 12th, ma'am.
Okay. So you called the defendant's home and you got this young lady on the phone. And what is your name?
Allison.
Now, did you know Allison?
Yeah, I did.
What had you been drinking, smoking, or snorting that night, Mr. Lapp?
No snorting or smoking anything other than cigarettes, but we were drinking gin that night.
And who was there?
It was me, my witness Andrew, and my neighbor from across the way, and my girlfriend.
What did you say to Allison when you prank called her, sir?
I
Look at
don't
me.
know. There was a lot of prank phone calls being made, but I mean, I was on one of them. And what I said...
I want to know what was said when you called Allison.
I can't remember exactly, but I did say something to
You
the
don't
effect.
remember. So let's hear Allison. Allison, you remember July 14th?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Who called you?
Mr. Lapp called my cell phone.
How did he have your cell phone number? Do you know?
Ryan is a previous boyfriend of mine.
Who's Ryan?
Mr. Lapp.
When did you stop seeing him?
In March.
March of '06? Mm-hmm. And when did you meet your husband? Okay, so he had your cell phone number. What did he say to you, Allison, when he called?
He said that I hope that they shoot your desert rat boyfriend in the head and that they don't find his body so he can't be buried here.
Not nice.
No, definitely not. Shouldn't have ever even been said, and that was totally unright on my part.
So, Allison, what did you do when you got that message?
I was very upset. A lot of crying.
Did you tell Mr. Childress?
Yes.
Okay. So what'd you do?
I listened to the tape.
Oh, she had it on tape.
There was 16, 17 vulgar, sexually abusive, and just derogatory phone calls over a period of an hour and a half made to the house. Very explicit, very sexually demeaning.
Why, Mr. Lapp?
Like I said, I couldn't tell you why. I wasn't even on any of those phone calls except for that one phone call where I did say what I said about her now husband.
But you gave the phone to
No.
your friends.
No,
or
I
you
didn't.
called the number.
No, other people have her number other than me. That did not come from me. They all know her.
Did you make the phone calls?
Me?
You! What am I looking at? Who else is there?
Yeah. I made about 2 or 3 myself. But everybody did have her phone number that was there, and they were all using their separate phones.
I didn't ask about anybody else. I asked about you.
Yeah, I made 2 or 3 phone calls.
Stand up. Why?
We just had we just had something against her. I don't know what it was, but we just didn't really like her.
Who cares? I don't like you. I wouldn't call you and say nasty things on your cell phone.
That's fair. We just, we were drinking, and it just...
Because you were acting like idiots, and that's what happens to idiots when they drink.
Yeah.
When they drink, they don't know what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
They don't know what they're saying, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes they become confrontational,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Now I'll hear from you.
After listening to this hour and a half of phone calls, I was so disappointed in Ryan. We'd invited him to our house. We've fed him. We've taken care of him. And it just really disappointed me. I couldn't imagine why he would sink so low. And then to talk about a gentleman who's not here, who's serving our country, that gives him the right to say the things that he did.
Yeah, sitting on his porch and drinking gin.
Exactly.
Right.
I thought this couldn't be the Ryan I knew.
So you went over there to see if somebody else creeped into his skin.
Well, my son-in-law lives in the same apartment that Ryan does. And we had an open door policy. They come to our house, we go to their house.
So you went over there.
I went over there and
Look at me, Mr. Childress.
wanted to see what was going on.
So what happened when you got there?
I asked Ryan, I go, do you know who I am? Because he was in bed. I saw that his girlfriend had just left.
So you went into his bedroom?
Yes, which is right next to my son-in-law's bedroom.
How did you get into the house?
The house is open.
Okay. All right,
like
do you remember,
Yes.
Mr. Lapp, what happened? Because you were pretty drunk that night, according
Yeah,
to
I
you.
wasn't that drunk in the morning, though.
Oh, so this
Maybe
was
a little
the morning.
hungover. This was a little hungover, yes. When he assaulted me, it was in the morning.
Go ahead.
I woke up, actually, my girlfriend was leaving the house. Once she had left the house,
Was she there when you were making these calls,
Yes,
these
she
crank
was.
calls?
Yes, she was. She was there for part of the night, then she left and didn't come back.
Was she
later that
making
night.
any of the crank calls?
She was on some of those prank phone calls. What had happened was she had left that morning. He came in after that, and I thought somebody was coming to my bedroom. I thought it was my girlfriend returning because she forgot something.
It wasn't.
No, it wasn't. He locked the door behind him as he came in. Said, "Do you know who I am?" I said, "Yeah." He told me to stand up. I stood up. He socked me once in the mouth. I fell to the bed. He continued to hold me down and punch me. I couldn't even move. I mean, he punched me 20, 25 times in the side of my face, in my stomach, all through my neck, my jaw. I have the hospital reports of the cervical strain and the contusions to the head and neck for about 3 weeks, which caused
Not
me
going to
be
make
able
any more prank phone calls, are you?
No. Prank phone calls are bad. Like I said, it was a stupid mistake, but I don't believe it justifies someone putting their hands on somebody.
Okay, now your version, sir.
I asked Ryan if he knew who I was, because I know he had been drinking the night before, and I asked him what was going on. And immediately he said, I didn't say anything, and flailed his arms up. I took a defensive posture and acted accordingly. I thought he was going to attack me, the way he had been talking on the phone.
I don't buy that, Mr. Children. I don't buy that. You went into his bedroom.
That's correct.
After that, he also proceeded to go out and try to assault him. It's not like he just came in there just to beat me up.
I assume you called the police?
Yes, I called the police right after it happened.
And I
Which he
assume the
also threatened
police,
me not to
shh,
do.
quiet.
Okay.
And I assume the police came, and I assume you played them the recordings?
Yes, Your Honor.
And they did nothing?
They failed to press charges against either one of us.
Correct. Do you work, Mr. Lapp?
Yes, I do.
Who do you work for?
Fry's Electronics in Sacramento.
How long have you worked for them?
I've worked there about 4 months now.
You have medical insurance?
No, I do not.
Have you paid any of these bills?
No, I have not. I don't have the funds to do so.
I have $2,099 in medical bills.
Yes.
Do you have any photographs of your injuries?
I did on a cell phone that's broken now, so there's no way to get those.
How many times did you hit him, Mr. Childress?
Probably between 10 and 12 times.
More than that. Way more.
Like, I was in the living room when this all happened because, like, you have, like, where I slept in the apartment, you have to walk past me to get to his room. And when he walked in there, he locked the door, and I heard a lot of, beating and screaming, him telling him to get off. But there was a lot more hits. You could hear Mark hitting Ryan. It was a lot more than 10 or 12.
Mr. Lapp, on a sympathy scale of 1 to 10, maybe you're a -1. You understand that? To me. You too. Because the pain that you can cause somebody as a result of making crank phone calls to them, and prank phone calls, especially the kind that you did with regard to this young man who was very far away from home and whose life was on the line, so that you two idiots could sit on your porch and drink gin. The things that you said about him are outrageous. And while I understand Mr. Childress's anger at you, the law doesn't give him the right to go over to your home and to assault you. There's no question that the police were so outraged at the phone calls that they winked at the assault. But quite frankly, I can't. You are responsible for his medical bills. Now, then, the only thing that I have to make a judgment about is whether you are also responsible for his pain and suffering, because his medical bills are $2,000. He wants $5,000. That he's not getting. Because there is emotional injury and there is physical injury. And you suffered physical injury as a result of this assault. Did this young lady sue you for emotional injury?
She did not.
You think that one can be as dramatic as the other?
Yeah.
Well, so the swollen face, the black and blue, whatever, suck it up. Mr. Childress is going to pay your medical bills. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Frances Garcia is suing her mother, Joan LeGrand, for the unpaid interest on a loan. Frances says her mother has a gambling problem.
Miss Garcia, Miss LeGrand is your mother.
Yes.
And some time ago you made a loan to her, a loan which she acknowledges. It's a loan for, I think, $1,500. Is that right?
Yes.
And she paid you back the loan.
No, not fully.
How much does she owe on the loan?
The loan itself, it's $100 to $200.
You said 100 or 200. Well, this is a court. Be specific. Does she owe you 100 or 200?
Let me check here, so I can be specific. 100 difference.
It was a $1,500 loan. She paid you back $1,400. What did you need the money for, Miss LeGrand?
Well, Your Honor, I had some court-ordered debt that it needed to be paid to Sacramento, and to me that was a very urgent matter and needed to be taken care of, and that's why I got the loan from her to pay them.
Do you agree that you owe her the $100 on the original loan?
If she says I still owe her $100, I guess maybe I am $100 short, because the last payment that I made to her was $200, and I believe it should have been $300.
Okay. So you acknowledge that perhaps you owe her $100. She says that you do, but she doesn't want $100. She wants $1,600. You're going to tell me why?
Because my mother at the bingo hall came up to me, you can see this on the bingo paper, with this, and she said, Dee, can you read this and then let me know something? Well, per her contract, it states here, $500 for court fines. Then it also says $500 that she owes the state. Well, then her total at the bottom is $1,500. I said, Mom, what do you need the other $500 for? Oh, miscellaneous. I said, oh, it's for Jackson, right? Because she likes to go gamble in Jackson outside of the bingo hall.
Okay.
So, anyways, per her contract, it says, if you would like to read it, Judge, the payment would be paid as follows. It's here starting May the 3rd, $200.
Just a second. She acknowledges she owes you $100 on the original $1,500 loan.
Yes.
But you want $1,600.
Yes, because that's why I loaned her the money. She agreed to pay me $3,000 back.
So she agreed to pay you double the loan, 100% interest. Is that right? And that's what you want?
That's what I want.
When did you make her the loan?
On April 26th.
Of what year?
Of 2005.
And when did she finish paying you the $1,400?
When did I have to press her to finish paying me?
When did she pay you?
Let me see. She did not pay in August 3rd because she spent it in Las Vegas.
Listen to me.
Okay, I did hear your question.
Listen to me. If you heard my question, give me the answer. When did she finish paying?
The 18th.
Of what month?
August.
Now, did you have a reasonable relationship with your mother before?
Outside of being her banker, no. We just talk whenever we see each other.
The laws of this country, in each jurisdiction, preclude, do not allow people to charge usurious interest rates.
She made the contract.
Listen, I want you to open up, put on your listening ears.
They're here.
Courts will not enforce a contract with usurious interest rates. They're against the law.
Okay, fine. Well,
good. Then she owes you $100.
I don't feel that's correct, because even if you use a credit card to get the money, there are 22.99% interest.
And?
So what's the difference? She's not paying me any interest. I didn't loan it to her just as a gift.
Let me tell you what the law says, just so that you're aware of it.
Please, enlighten me.
I'm going to enlighten you, and I'm going to do it quickly because I have other fish to fry today. The law says that if you make a contract that's against the law, and it is against the law to charge too much interest, then the courts will not enforce that contract with any interest.
Oh, it's nice to know the law.
Good. Now you know it. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $100, which you acknowledge you owe her. That's all.
Paxton Durlow is suing tattoo artist Breezy Barrett for breach of contract on the bartering of a vehicle. Paxton says Breezy was supposed to tattoo him in exchange for a truck.
Mr. Durlow, you traded your truck for services to be performed by the defendant, who's a tattoo artist. She paid some in cash for the truck, is that right?
Correct.
And the remainder was to be worked off in this barter arrangement. Is that right?
There was also a bike included in the deal as well.
That you got?
Yes, correct.
Your claim is that Miss Barrett did half of the tattoo and then modified the agreement that you had to complete the tattoo by telling you that you could only come for your appointments between 9 and 12 at a time when you work, therefore requiring that you go to somebody else to have the tattoo finished.
Correct.
That's what you want to pay for, plus some harassment nonsense. Everybody's been harassed. You know who's most harassed here?
You.
And Miss Barrett says that you caused her to lose business because what you did was you kept canceling appointments. And in addition to that, you sexually harassed her. So she's counterclaiming. When did you make this deal with the truck?
I'm not exact on the dates at all. I mean, I have the contract, I guess, in here. So
okay, so let me have the contract, please. Okay, so the sales agreement requires that the tattoo is to be completed in 2-hour sessions, no more than 3 weeks apart, unless otherwise agreed to by the parties, and that's dated 7/21/06, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
When did you start the tattoo?
I was already in the middle of tattoos. This deal came on after I was already getting work from her.
So when you were supposed to start it in 2-hour sessions, according to the agreement?
Yes, that would have been starting that date.
So what happened?
Well, the appointments were going well. Then I would get an occasional push. She would ask me if I could come in on a different day because there was a person that absolutely had to have that appointment. And it was a way for her to make money and that she was a sole provider for her home. So I agreed. And then it became redundant. And then
what?
I didn't agree any further. It started getting to where I couldn't get anything done.
Did you ever cancel appointments yourself?
The last time that I had an appointment to go to was one I canceled.
How many times did she change your appointment?
I believe 4 times, maybe even more.
And it was always because she had a paying customer?
A paying customer or something came up. She did have a mother who was terminally ill, which I fully understood. And she also changed appointments there too, which I did not consider in the claim.
Okay. When did she tell you about this business of only coming in the morning?
After a discussion of me not getting anything done, the whole conversation was via text, and I have it, if you'd like
I'd like to see it.
Would you like to see pictures of the truck as well?
No.
Okay.
Not necessary. Oh, well, here's your problem. Breezy, you're Breezy, right?
Yes.
Here's your problem. It is clear to me that the two of you have a dispute in these text messages with regard to whose fault it was, etc. You know, clearly you were not yourself as a result of your mother's illness, because that's clear from these emails, and that there were certain stresses in your life. But when you say to him, in the future, you shouldn't off your artist until after the work is done, would be enough for me to say that you breached this contract and I wouldn't let you do any work on me. That's a threat. I mean, I don't know anything about tattoos except that I've seen them. They're done with needles, right?
Correct.
I wouldn't let anybody near me with a needle who said to me I wouldn't take any action until after it was all done and I was happy. You want to say anything to me?
I would love to.
Go ahead.
After 6 months of tattooing on him, I canceled 2 appointments.
Well, that's too many.
One being I'm a sole provider of my children. I only work 5 hours a day because I have preschool pickup, drop off, daycare closes.
Whatever. Listen,
Okay.
he's not your mother. He's not your
No,
sister. He's not your brother.
He was a friend.
Just a second. You canceled 2 appointments. Not tragic.
My second appointment I canceled was because his appointment was 2 days after my mother died.
You canceled the 2 appointments.
He called and made 4 appointments, 2 weeks, 2 hours back to back. No showed on every one of them. I only work 5 hours a day.
Show
you
me.
no show.
Show
It's
me.
right
He
here.
says that that's not true.
Right here.
It's in pencil, Your Honor.
It doesn't matter if it's in pencil.
Let me take a look at it.
That's my appointment book. Here's my apprentice who helps make all my appointments.
Do you remember independently making these appointments?
She wasn't there at that time.
Just a second. Just answer my question. Do you remember independently making these appointments, yes or no?
During that point in time.
Just answer my
no.
question. Fine. Thank you. I want you to give me the date of the first appointment. Would you give that book back to her, please? Give me the date of the first appointment you say he missed.
Monday, January 15th.
What was the next one?
1/19/07.
Well, that's not 2 weeks apart.
No, he called after no showing and said, sorry, can you get me in? So I did. I slid him in.
Okay, well, that's not 2 weeks apart. First you told me he made appointments 2 weeks apart over a month and didn't appear. So now it's 1/15/07.
Okay.
Then you Then you said he called you and said, I'm sorry, could you fit me in? You made it for 1/19/07, and then you say he didn't show up.
Then he had February 4th.
Go ahead.
Then he had February 16th.
Can you show me, Ms. Berendt, anywhere in these text messages where you say that he missed appointments on the 15th, the 19th, or February 4th, which is why you decided to change the rule, because you have a lot of emails going back and forth, a lot of bad language going back and well, from your end. But there isn't, according to what I see here, one place where you wrote in your email that he missed appointments on January 15th, January 19th, or February 4th. And all of these text messages were written on February 6th. Not one place do you talk about 3 missed appointments.
Those are his text messages.
Show me yours.
He
That phone was dropped in the toilet.
Okay.
But he could easily have left off the first 4 emails for
He
you.
could have,
You know?
and your phone maybe could have been dried off from the toilet. You have to take care of the rest of his tattoo. That was your contract with him.
I never had a problem with that,
That
ever.
was your contract. How much will it cost to finish the tattoo?
It's an estimate because, I mean...
How much is the estimate?
I have it right here if you'd like to see it. He believes it to be between $1,440 and $1,800.
Can I see, please?
It depends on the work.
Where is it? Is it on your arm?
It's on both arms. And
Got it.
There's not more than $600 left there.
Well, then you should have done it yourself.
I would love to.
Well, you can't because you threatened him. Okay. Now, you also don't mention anywhere the sexual harassment that you talk about. You want to tell me about it?
Yeah, the entire time I worked on him, it was fondling me, grabbing on me. I leave my life for you the whole time. That's
Oh, well,
why she's
good.
here.
Okay, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. The counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Norma Villa says her sister, Alicia Vasquez, owes for car payments, car repairs, and money loans.
Miss Villa, the defendant is your sister.
That's correct.
And some time ago, she needed a car. You agreed to take out a loan in your name.
That is correct, Your Honor.
What kind of car did she buy?
It was a 99 volts Jetta
How much was the loan?
for $11,809, I believe.
So that was very nice of your sister. When did she take out the loan for you?
In 2003 of June.
And you made the payments on the loan?
Yes, ma'am, I have.
Until when?
Until March of 2005.
What happened in March of 2005?
I lost my job, and I was fighting an appeal for unemployment, and so I couldn't make the payments after in April and May.
That's what your lawsuit wants?
Yes.
April and May's car payment, as well as a substantial amount of money because you claimed that your sister abandoned the car
Yes,
and
ma'am.
destroyed it.
Yes, ma'am.
Caused a lot of damage to the car. Cost you $2,000 to put the car back into shape. You are now driving the car and paying it off.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. You acknowledge that you didn't make April and May's car payment.
Yes, ma'am.
So you acknowledge that you owe that to your sister because somebody had to make it.
No, ma'am. What happened was I didn't have money to pay April and May, and she said that she would either try to help me or that if she couldn't help me in any way, then to go ahead and take the tires, because I kept telling her, what about my rims? And she said, if I can't help you, if you can't make the payment, then fork it. You know, I don't have
That's
money.
incorrect,
And
Ellen.
she said, I don't have money or anything, so go ahead and take the rims off.
Miss Vasquez, somebody paid April and May's car payment. It was not you.
Well, Your Honor, what happened was she didn't pay the April and May payment. Actually, she told me that the bank had reported the car stolen. So I lived with my
Somebody
mom.
has now made April and May's car payment if she's driving the car.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Who had the car in April?
I had the car in April.
Who had the car in May?
I did, ma'am. But
Just
I
a
also...
second. Listen to me. If you had the car in April and drove it, and you had the car in May and drove it, why should anybody else make the car payment for you? That was not your agreement with your sister.
Right, ma'am. But see, what happened was we were waiting for an appeal to go through for my unemployment so I could
don't
pay
give
those
a rat's
payments.
behind about your appeal for unemployment. I asked you a very simple question. The very simple question was, if you drove the car in April and you drove the car in May, who should pay for the car?
Well, I should have paid for the car.
That's the answer. You drove it. You pay for it.
Well, now she's driving the car, so...
She's not asking you for anything else.
But I put a down payment on the vehicle, which was $800.
In 2003?
Yes, ma'am. But I already paid $6,000 on the vehicle.
How much a month did you pay for the car?
I paid $328 a month.
And how much do you think it would cost you to rent a car?
I have no idea, ma'am.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a homemaker now, ma'am.
Who supports you?
Unemployment.
How many children do you support?
I support 2.
Do they live with you?
One of them does.
Where does the other one live?
With his dad.
And who else lives in your home?
My husband.
And what does he do for a living?
He's unemployed.
Why?
Because it's been hard for him to find a job because he doesn't have documents.
Well, so you always ask one question too many. Do you have documents?
Yes, ma'am. I'm a U.S. citizen.
Then you have to work.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. And take care of your baby.
That's what he did.
Good. But you both can't stay home?
Right. Now, well, I just
then
finished my
stick
appeal.
your sister with your car payment, because if you're both not working, you don't even need a car. If you're sitting around doing nothing, then you don't need a car.
But we had made an agreement, because I had told her, we had made an agreement, me and her had made an agreement to where, because she knew that I couldn't make the payments, and she had agreed that she would wait for me to go to court and then go ahead and just pay the car payment even if it was late. We had made the agreement, me and her.
That's incorrect, Your Honor. Does not make any sense.
What do you do for a living, Miss Villa?
I'm a team manager for a well-known company.
And you have children?
I have 4.
You support them?
I do.
Do they live with you?
They do.
Anybody else live in your house other than your 4 children?
My husband.
Does he work?
Yes, he does.
What kind of work does he do?
He's a manager for a contracting company.
Makes a good living?
Yes, he does.
You own a home?
I own 2, ma'am.
Have mortgages?
Yes.
Have cars?
Yes.
Have car payments?
Yes.
See what I mean? That, Miss Vasquez, is the American dream.
Well, that's my
Do you
American dream
understand?
someday.
Do you understand? You can't stay home in your house,
Right.
hoping the American dream will find you.
Right.
And you can't encumber anybody else with your problems.
I understand, ma'am, but I was fighting an appeal at the time, and that's
You
why...
already told me that 3 times. You don't visit that on your sister. Now, how much was each car payment?
They're $328 plus the late delinquency.
And what was the late fee?
I have a breakdown if you need that.
Yeah.
And then I have photos. I don't sure if you need them, but they're the damages.
I want to see the damage that you allege to the car.
And the house that you see there in that photo is my defendant's witness's mom's house. So what a coincidence for that one.
You told us to leave the car there.
No. Be truthful. You just got
No.
sworn in.
Shh. Did you take the wheels off this car?
They're my tires. She told me that it was okay to
The
do
car
that,
was
ma'am.
not given to her
She
like
told
that.
me days before that there was insurance on the vehicle before she was mad and angry and did all this. And she told me I had told her, well, Norma, I haven't went to court yet for my unemployment to
truthful.
pay.
No.
I'm being honest.
Listen, I want you to let her speak. Do you understand?
Okay.
And I don't want you to interrupt her again.
Okay.
Keep
and
going.
she told me that I told her to ask the bank if she can tell the bank that the money was, lost in the mail.
So you asked her
Yes.
to lie to the bank.
I asked her. Yes, ma'am.
That the check was in the mail
Yes.
when it really wasn't in the mail.
Right.
So you lied.
Mm-hmm.
And you wanted her to lie.
And she did.
Just a second. And according to you, she lied for you.
Mm-hmm. She said that she was going to tell the bank that that it was lost in the mail, and by that time I should have my money to go, so I could go ahead and pay the payments with the late fee.
Okay, so you asked her to lie for you, and she did lie for you.
Right.
And then when it came time for you to send the money, you still didn't send it.
No, what happened was days after that, she said that the bank had reported the car stolen. And she called my mom. She wouldn't talk to me no more. She called my mom, and she told my mom the car was reported stolen. I'd be taken out by gunpoint and to leave the car. So I lived with my mom. She could have went and picked up. She didn't have to do all this. She could have went and picked the car up at my mom's house. The car was never moved again until that she told my sister-in-law on the phone to leave it somewhere where the police can find it, which I don't understand. And she had told me way before all this happened to take the rims off if she couldn't make the payment. That's the honest truth, Your Honor. That now for the inside is not damaged. What happened is I've had that car for 2 years. I do have a daughter, and the inside of the vehicle, of course, is going to get dirty, but it's not demolished.
Just because you have a daughter doesn't mean that a car has to look like this.
Well, it's the interior, ma'am. It's the interior. When my daughter, sometimes she got car sick, she'd throw up, and we would clean it with, when you clean the car, it stains.
Well, then let me ask you a question. Who's supposed to take care of that now that you no longer have the car?
Well, I was...
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Who's supposed to take care of it? The bank?
I am.
Right! There you go. Now, my next question to you. This nothing is my responsibility. When you put new rims on the car, what did you do with the old ones?
The old rims stayed at the dealer where I got the tires at.
Well, that's your problem. Because if you put something new on the car that you wanted to take back, then it was your responsibility to put back the original ones.
But my sister told me to do that. She told
I
me to
don't
take them.
believe you. She's a responsible, reliable person who has a job, and she has a husband who is employed, and she supports a household with 4 children, and she has 2 homes and 2 mortgages and car payments of her own, and she doesn't seem to be making excuses that not anything is my fault.
I'm not saying nothing's my
Pay careful
fault.
attention.
Yes, ma'am.
If you take out a radio and you put in a more expensive one, and then you have to send back the car to the company because you can't afford it, you don't leave it with no radio. You put back the original one. You don't leave it like this.
She told me to leave it like that,
I don't believe you.
She told me to leave the car on brakes and to take my rims off of it. Honest to truth. Tell
Makes
her.
sense.
Tell the truth.
Makes sense.
Tell the truth, sis.
No,
Come on.
just don't speak to each other. I don't believe that she said it to you. Even if she did say it to you, then if you're a grown-up, you say, look, I've had this car for 2 years. If I can't get the wheels that were originally on the car, I'm just going to have to take the loss and leave the ones that are on the car, because somebody is going to be penalized for this. It's not going to be you, because your name isn't anywhere on the paperwork. It's got to be the person whose name is on the paperwork. That's her.
That's probably why she told me there was insurance on the car, and to do that.
Listen, I want you to get a copy of my book. It's a book that I wrote a long time ago. Beauty fades, dumb is forever. I'm trying to educate you.
Yes, ma'am.
You won't let it happen. When you do things in life, you're supposed to accept responsibility.
I accept the responsibility that I took the tires. Because
no, you accept responsibility that you took the tires, but you don't want to pay for it. That's the responsibility. You said, of course I took them.
Well, I did a down payment on the car. I put $800 in the car. She's driving the car. She's saying that it was demolished, that it didn't work. I mean,
Madam,
that doesn't make any sense.
Listen to me.
That should cover my $800.
When you buy a car, any car, new or used, as soon as you drive the car out of a showroom, it depreciates. Do you understand that? That requires a simple yes or no.
Yes, ma'am.
So when you put $800 down on the car and you drove the car out of the showroom, you lost your $800. Do I make myself clear?
Mm-hmm.
You don't get that back. Your car didn't appreciate in value because your daughter vomited on the back seat. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, now let's get to this $315 rent check.
She was in the process of getting evicted, and she needed money. She couldn't get any money from anywhere.
This is in April. This is when she stopped paying for the car as well, in April.
Correct.
Well, tell me about it.
I didn't want her to lose a roof over her head. And
Tell me about the conversation. Where did it take place?
She called me and asked me over the phone at work and asked me if I can please lend her the money. Her husband's going to get work, or she's going to get unemployment, or whatever the case is. Can I please lend her $315 so that she can pay the eviction so that they won't evict her?
Okay,
but
she acknowledges that you gave her that money. When did you pay her back?
In June, when I got, I had to get on cash aid.
You went on welfare?
Yes, because I had to move, Your Honor, to Santa Rosa.
Welfare gave you a lump sum check?
No, they gave me like a cash aid.
For how much?
It was like $380 something.
And you took that whole $300 and gave it to your sister?
Yes, ma'am.
So what did you do for money?
I had to go stay with my mom temporarily, so the $80 that I had, that's in the food stamps that they had gave me.
Did she give you back the $300?
She didn't, Your Honor.
Of course not. It doesn't make sense that you got $380 from welfare, and after this major to-do that you had with your sister where you were annoyed with her about the car, and she said she may help you out with the payments, and you turned the car over to your sister, who was then very angry with you because the car was destroyed in the interior and didn't have any wheels at all and was up on blocks, that you paid her back the $300 that you owed her, saving only $80 for yourself. It doesn't make sense. You owe your sister $1,500. That's what you owe her reasonably to put the car back into condition and for this loan that you did not pay back. And I suggest that you and or your husband find some way of earning a living. You made a baby, you gotta get a job. That's all.
Lynette Young claims ex-boyfriend Robert Mangum owes for a loan and for an assault. Robert admits he put his hands on Lynette, but claims she refused to leave his property.
Ms. Young, this used to be your boyfriend. He's not your boyfriend anymore. You claim that you loaned him some money and that he, at some point, sort of assaulted you, although it was an argument that went very badly. Mr. Mangum says that the money that you did, in fact, give him was a gift. There was never any discussion of repayment, and that this assault that you're talking about was as a result of your own actions, that you were a hot-tempered nut and he did nothing but try to escape you. Tell me about this money. When did you give it to him and where did it come from?
February 16th. It came from my accounts.
Can I see from where?
Yes. It's right here.
Where did you take this money from?
It was from my savings accounts.
And you took it out in cash?
Cash.
And what did you do with it?
I let the defendant borrow $1,100 from it, and I spent $900 of it.
Now, you gave him $1,100. And what did you do with it, sir?
I was supposed to buy a car, but it didn't go that way. You know, she spent all her money, so...
You were supposed to buy a car.
Right.
Did you
but
put
she
the money...
blew all her...
I'm speaking. When she gave you the $1,100, where did you put it?
I just had it in my pocket. It was in my possession. I didn't put it in the bank anywhere because it's supposed to be for me to buy a car. But she blew all her money, so I had to use the money to take care of her now.
He was going to say that no matter what happened.
Right, I mean, I'm trying to tell you what happened.
I ask questions. When I want you to do a monologue, I'll ask you.
It's not a monologue. I was answering the question.
No, I just asked you where you put the money. You said in my pocket.
In my possession. Sorry.
Right. You see, we're going to do this in an orderly fashion, like I say.
It's supposed to be used to buy a car.
I have a feeling they look like, look, see, that's attitude. Look at the attitude, right? Attitude, attitude. That looks like a match made in heaven. So she gave you this $1,100. You're supposed to use it to buy a car.
Right.
But you didn't buy a car. You bought a watch instead.
No, I didn't buy a watch. Ben had the watch.
Hmm?
Ben had the watch.
What did he say?
Ben had the watch.
Ben- So what'd you do with the money?
Help take care of her, because she blew all her money.
What did she blow her money on?
Ask her.
What'd you blow your money on, the $900? What'd you buy?
I actually blow my money.
What did you buy with it?
I have to eat, have to pay my bills, I have my own apartment.
Yeah.
And I have to put gas and things in my car, so I didn't actually blow my money.
Well, so you spend your money on your own bills.
On myself.
On yourself.
Doing
on
things that I had
things.
to do.
Tell her the truth.
Shh. Just a second. Why should she tell me the truth? That would
'Cause
make
she's not
it
telling
so
the truth.
unusual here.
She's not telling the truth.
Okay, so
I
you
thought
blew,
this is a
she
place of
blew her
justice.
money and you had to use the $1,100 on her. What did you use it on? Give me an example.
Food, going out, rent, cell phone bills, all of that nature.
Were you-
But I was supposed to be buying me a car. That was
Were you living
specifically
together?
for. Yo, huh? Excuse me? You're not speaking loud enough.
The problem is your mouth isn't closed. So when your mouth is not closed, you
asked me a
can't hear me.
question.
You can't hear me. I said, were you living? No, you were
No, we
quiet
weren't
for a
living
second.
together, but we was together every day. I'm answering your question. I'm just.
It's all in the timing, see.
See, we ain't connected here. Maybe we need to slow down a little bit.
We are not connecting, sir. And for that I say, thank God.
Wow.
So you didn't buy the car with the $1,100?
No, ma'am.
You took her out to eat, took her to parties and things?
Parties, eat, shows, karaoke, everything.
I just want to know where was I at.
Just 1 second.
I'm sorry.
Just 1 second. That doesn't mean he doesn't have to pay you back. Listen to me. That doesn't mean he doesn't have to pay you back. If he decided to use this money to show you a good time, to play big man, that's his problem.
Hey.
That's his problem. You know, he chose to do that. He could have let you stay home and watch Law and Order or watch Judge Judy. He could have let you do that. You could have had just as good a time. All right. Okay. So now, Miss Young, now I want you to tell me, madam, about this assault, when it happened, and let's try to keep it legitimate, okay? Because I have a feeling that I'm going to get half a truth from each of you.
Okay, it happened probably like a month and a half ago. I was over his house.
Month and a half? What month?
What was it? June?
You're asking me? I wasn't there.
Okay, June, May, June.
May and June.
Yes.
Must have been a terrible assault if you remember May and June. Go ahead, let me hear what happened. You were over on his porch.
Okay, I was over on his porch.
You were sitting on his porch.
And he got angry because I wouldn't leave. He wanted to drive my car and go to handle some business. And he wanted me to go inside the house. And I said, no, I don't want to go in the house. He came back, drove around the block, told me, leave my house, Lynette. And I said, I'm not leaving. Why do you want me to leave? He took me by my shirt, grabbed me, drugged me off his porch with my shirt. Tried to throw me in my car. We got into a physical altercation. He scratched me up. I scratched him up. We was fighting, like just fighting. Not like punching each other, but like scratching.
Each other?
Yes. I was trying to defend myself.
Because you were trespassing on his property.
I wasn't really trespassing.
Yes, you were.
I was invited over his house.
No, Lynette, darling, what he said to you, I want you to leave my house. The invitation is over. You have to leave.
Okay, that's
That
true.
means you're trespassing.
Mm-hmm. But when I did say that I was about to go, you don't have to put your hands on me. I will leave on my own will. He took me by my shirt and drugged me off the porch. So that means that he didn't give me an opportunity. When he said move, I didn't move when he wanted me to move. So
That's his problem. He has a problem like that.
I didn't move
He
quick
likes to
enough
be in
for him.
charge.
I didn't move quick enough for him, so he took me by my shirt.
Did you call the police?
Yes, I did.
And he was arrested?
He was arrested.
Just a second. He was arrested. Did you follow through with the case?
Okay.
Look at me. Did you follow through with the case?
I did not.
So what do you want from me? You don't even remember the day it happened. You don't even remember the month it happened. But I'd like to hear your version of the events anyway. Go ahead.
Okay, let me give you a mental picture of this. Now, she's sitting over my house. We had a good day, you know, for probably about an hour.
You did have a good day?
We did have a good day for about an hour. Usually, that's about the extent of how long our good days last, you know. But I need to use her car. She got an attitude with me about using her car, but she finally let me use it. I'm like, just go in the house. You know, it was a bunch of stuff going on in the neighborhood.
What were you going to use her car for?
I had to go make a run. I had to go pick something up. Because I was supposed to be going out. I was supposed to be going out later, so I had to go pick up some clothes. So, but that's either here nor there. It was a bunch of stuff that's going on in the neighborhood, so I told her, go in the house. You know, I didn't yell at her. I didn't argue with her. Just go in the house. She put on the front in front of y'all. She wanted to play Miss Model, Miss Affront, an acting job, Sanaa Lathan. You know, I'm just trying to run it down to you, but in front of y'all, she want to act all nice. But when it comes to me, she's like a terrorist.
No,
She's a terrorist.
Why, just a second. That's what you like about her.
No, I'm actually trying to help her with her problem. I say it's a
Her
problem.
anger.
Right. It's not even anger. It's a mixture of things. She's sensitive, she's emotional, and she's a bit aggressive. So with that chemical reaction, it causes a terrorist attack. But let me get on with the story.
Get on with it in 30 seconds, sir.
30 seconds? Okay. I told her to go in the house. You know, I didn't tell her, I asked her to go in the house. She argued with me. Why I gotta go in the house? Oh, I ain't going nowhere. I'm like, all right, I ain't gonna argue with you. Just leave. She said, I ain't going nowhere. Please, can you leave? I ain't going nowhere. So I grabbed her by her waist and walked her down the stairs.
Oh, wow.
You know, so I put her in the car, got in the other side of the car, pulled off. Now, we in the car arguing, fighting, arguing. I'm like, you know what? I finally got like a mile away from the house, got to the light, and parked the car at the light, and got out the car, and started walking home. She come back to my house. Come back, talking about she gonna call the police on me. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? Just leave. She called the police over there. I go over there, talk to the police, you know.
Meanwhile, you had an outstanding warrant that kept you
Right,
for a
right.
while.
So that's why they took me.
What was the warrant for, Mr. Mangum?
It was open alcohol.
Open alcohol?
Yeah, in the car. I wasn't driving. The alcohol was just open.
Oh, well, why didn't you go to court when you got that ticket? Huh?
I missed the court date.
You have other big things to do? What kind of work do you do, Mr. Mangum?
I used to work at Sherman-Williams, but I'm just a student now.
I used to be taller, but now I'm shorter. What do you do now? What do you do now?
I'm just a student.
A student of what?
College.
Where?
Wayne State. Criminal justice is my major. I plan to be like you one day.
Mr. Mangum, the system isn't ready for you, sir.
I know, but in a few years, they'll be ready. They tuning up for me.
All right, Mr. Mangum, you owe her $1,100. You wined her and dined her. You're a guy who's supposed to pay those things. You're not supposed to take her out with her own money. Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,100, you get zero, nothing, zippo for the assault. You probably brought on yourself. That's all.
21-year-old child care provider Amy Helsher is suing former client, 20-year-old Heather McGlenn, for breaking their contract. Heather says Amy is a negligent caregiver.
Miss Helsher, how old are you?
21.
You run a daycare center?
Yes, ma'am.
For how many children?
I'm licensed for 10 with 2 children under the age of 2.
Who works in your daycare center?
Just myself.
And 10 children?
I don't have 10. Right now, I currently watch 5 with my 2 children.
7 children. How old are they?
2 3-year-olds and a 9-month-old, a 4-month-old, and then my 2 children.
And how old are your 2 children?
19 months and 4 months.
And who is this?
My husband.
It is your complaint that Miss McGlenn, who had a child in your daycare, took her child out of daycare without giving you 2 weeks' notice.
Right.
She has what appears to me to be a very good reason why she wouldn't give you 2 weeks' notice. In addition to the 2 weeks' notice, you claim that her child called your daycare.
Yes.
And you want her to pay the damage to the daycare. You also want her to pay late fees for not giving you the 2 weeks' notice. I'm absolutely amazed that you're here. Because according to what I read, Miss Helsher?
Yes.
Her baby, who's how old?
2 years old.
2 years old. The property that the baby damaged was some sort of a disc?
A computer disc.
That the baby put in a paper shredder.
Yes.
A paper shredder that was exposed so that the 2-year-old could get it while nobody was watching him. Okay, why don't you tell me how a 2-year-old can come in contact with a paper shredder that would shred a heavy piece of plastic?
It got stuck in the paper shredder. The computer disc was on top of the computer that's in my living room where they watch cartoons while I cook lunch, so I have them all under control.
You don't have them all under control. You don't have 7 children under control all by yourself. What state do you live in?
Missouri.
Anybody out there in Missouri? A 21-year-old lady doesn't watch 7 children, and possibly 12. There is something wrong in the state of Missouri. Don't you realize that her child could have lost a hand?
Fingers do not fit in the paper shredder. We have tried. Nothing fits in it.
How have you tried?
Nothing fits in it. There's a slot that's like a centimeter thick. It's not even wide at all. And the CD could not have came out because my husband had to use tools to get it out of the paper shredder.
You are responsible for anything that happens in your house.
Yes, ma'am.
While you are in control of these children, not their parents. You take on the responsibility of these children while you are watching them, while they are in your care for money. The idea that you would sue her for the $15 disc that her 2-year-old destroyed while you were in the kitchen not supervising adequately these 7 children is outrageous. Don't you get that? Do you understand that? What would prompt you to sue her for that disc when it is totally your responsibility that this child destroyed property and could have hurt himself? And I guarantee you, they're very inventive, these little children. Places where you never think they're going to be able to fit a finger, they fit a finger. You know, children lose fingers and hands on escalators. You figure, how do they do that? They do it. They're uncanny. That's why you don't take on the responsibility of 7 children. Because if you're in the kitchen cooking, somebody has to be in the living room watching the 7 children. I'm also amazed at you, Miss McGlenn, for leaving your baby there for another 4 weeks after this incident happened. You want to explain why to me?
Well, the first incident was the paper shredder, and at that point I had opened up my eyes and I was paying more attention to what was going on because I'm a single mother, you know, I'm a working mother, and I didn't have anyone else to care for my child. I was trying to find another situation for my son that I felt he was safe in.
How did you arrange to modify your schedule?
I got a different job. I started working a different shift, and I didn't need a babysitter.
Who takes care of him?
My boyfriend.
Boyfriend. How long has this been a boyfriend?
About 1.5 years.
Not the baby's father?
No.
Not happy about that? Just, you the mother?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not crazy about boyfriends watching babies.
Well, it was while he was sleepy.
I don't care if he was out at the prom. I'm not crazy about boyfriends watching babies.
I understand.
Lots of bad things have happened. Your boyfriend may be a really nice guy. I don't know. But you thought that this situation was okay too, right?
No.
When you put your baby there, you thought it was okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Turned out not to be okay. You got lucky once. Sometimes it doesn't happen. In any event, while I'm at it, since this is not the first 2 weeks notice case that I got from daycare centers, I'm going to tell you that this is one area, if I were a state government, I would not permit the 2 weeks notice requirement to be put in any daycare situation for the following reason. I'm just throwing this out for general information because I have an extra 30 seconds. Once I removed a child from daycare for cause, I wouldn't want to say, well, I'm going to leave him in here for another 2 weeks because that's what the contract says, that I have to leave him here for another 2 weeks and then worry that he's going to be either neglected or abused or somebody's not going to watch carefully enough because he's a child that's on its way out. I think that if you're moving and you give plenty of notice and say, listen, I'm moving, fine. But if there's cause for you removing your child from a daycare, I think that that 2 week requirement should be absolutely stricken from every daycare contract that's written, especially ones that are state subsidized. Ms. Holscher, you don't have a case. Goodbye.
Jose Torres claims ex-girlfriend Janice Semeno threw away his belongings. Janice is countersuing for lost wages.
Mr. Torres, you moved in with the defendant and her children while you were separated from your wife. I assume this is your wife, sir, is that right?
Yes.
And it is your claim that when you decided to return to your wife and reconcile with your family, the defendant kept and/or destroyed some property that belongs to you. The defendant says you had ample opportunity to get what you wanted. Whatever you didn't take with you, she got rid of. She is counterclaiming because she says that because of your broken promises, she lost wages. She's going to explain that to me. When did you and your wife separate, sir?
March of 2006.
And when did you move in with the defendant?
April, can't recall it. June 4th.
And when did you meet her?
I met her through my boss, which is her brother.
When?
In May.
Where had you been living between March and May?
My mother's house.
So you met her in May and you moved in with her in June?
June.
First mistake. Where did you move in with her, sir?
And where she used to live in Falmouth.
Falmouth?
Yes.
In a house or an apartment?
An apartment.
How old are your children?
I have a 5-year-old and an 18-month-old.
Where's their father? Don't know.
Gone. Yeah,
Gone.
don't know.
Were you working?
Yes.
Who were you working for at the time?
Stop and Shop and Dunkin' Donuts.
Who was taking care of the children when you worked?
They were in daycare, full-time.
Was that subsidized daycare?
Yeah.
Okay. So you move in,
Yes.
and then what happened, Mr. Torres?
Everything was getting fine. I was missing my kids a lot.
You have to speak slowly, Mr. Torres, because I'm going to try to follow you.
Okay.
Everything was going fine. You were missing your kids a lot, is what I got. Now you're going to try to speak a little slower and keep your voice up so I can hear you. See how I'm speaking and projecting? You don't have any trouble hearing me, right?
No, I don't, Your Honor.
Go ahead. Everything was going fine. You were missing your children, and
that I would like to get closer to my kids. And she agreed to move closer to so I could be near my kids after work.
So you said, I want to be closer to my kids. I miss them. Would you move?
No, I didn't explain just like that. I asked her if we could. I didn't force her to.
Nobody said you forced her, but you said, I want to be closer to my kids. I want to move with you and your kids.
Yes.
So she moved.
We did.
How far away from where she was living did she move?
I don't know the exact mileage.
Time, 15 minutes, 20 minutes,
no.
a half hour?
About an hour.
An hour?
45 to an hour.
So her children also were taken out of daycare?
Yes.
And she didn't have her jobs anymore?
She had transferred.
What do you mean she transferred? What does
She
that mean?
transferred her first job that she first had. In Dunkin' Donuts, she couldn't get transferred. And then she transferred her kids' daycare vouchers over to a new one in town.
So she relocated her whole family because of you. And when did she do that?
We moved in December 1st.
12/1/06. So between June and December, you and the defendant lived together.
Yes.
And in December, you relocated this family to be closer to your children.
Yes.
And then what happened, Mr. Torres?
I received a Christmas postcard from my wife and kids. She takes my picture with my kids on it and my wife and cuts my wife's face off and posts it on the fridge. And from there, everything went downhill.
So when did you move out?
I moved out before Christmas. It was like December 22nd, 2006.
So she lived in this new location close to your children for 3 weeks with you?
Yes.
So what are you suing for, Mr. Torres?
Just all my personal property.
Like what?
So Nintendo GameCube, stereo equipment, clothing, hats, bed.
And how much is all that stuff worth, sir?
Close to $2 grand.
How much was the rent on the apartment?
It's $1030. I actually had subsidized housing, so it was $170.
So he was getting the advantage of subsidized housing. They didn't know he was living there, right?
No.
Because if they knew he was living there, it would have been $1,000
Yes.
a month, right?
Yes.
Between June and December.
Yes.
Now, what happened with your second job?
They cut my pay and they cut my hours, and I had no idea when I was being transferred, because if I knew that, I wouldn't have transferred my job.
Yes, you would have.
Well.
What, sir?
Excuse me. The reason that she stopped working for Stop and Shop is because of pay related. They did not drop her hours. She had the same hours, but it was a lot of money that she was missing up a week of her check, and that's the reason she quit.
So?
So she did not lose her job because of me.
She did.
Okay.
She did.
Can I call my wife up here?
No, I don't need your wife. You were a big boy enough to leave your wife. You were a big boy enough to have this lady with her 2 children relocate closer to your children so you could be more comfortable, so you didn't have to travel. So she relocated herself. Her 2 children, took them out of daycare where they were comfortable, where she had 2 jobs. Nobody's asking you a question.
Okay.
I mean, you knew that he was living with her, right? You knew he was living with her, right?
Not in the beginning, no, I didn't. But she also knew that we had problems previously, and we've always worked our problems out.
Listen,
she knew she was
Ms.
getting
Torres,
involved with
Ms.
a married
Torres,
man.
listen to me. Shh. I got what happened.
You're not, the story's not straight.
Ms. Torres.
I'm sorry.
When you wake up in the morning for 8 months and you don't find your husband sleeping next to you in the bed, that's not a fight. That's not a disagreement. That's a separation. And while I think it's dumb on the part of any woman to get involved with a guy who's just separated from his family, and dumber, and uproot her children and her life, there's no question in my mind that you sent a Christmas card with your picture in it in order to irritate them a little bit. That doesn't say you're not entitled to do it. Don't speak. Don't speak. And I want to tell you something. I wouldn't have put up her picture on my refrigerator either. if I were her. Put your hand down, smarty pants. So far, you caused a lot of trouble, Mr. Torres. You don't ask somebody to relocate their life and turn their life upside down unless you are 100% sure that you're prepared to make a commitment.
I was committed.
Excuse me?
Everything got a lot stressful when we moved in to Taunton from Falmouth.
You told me things got stressful when your wife sent you a Christmas picture with herself in it. And she cut the picture out, which is exactly what I would have done.
Prior to that...
Exactly what most women would have done. Cut out the picture of your wife.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Put your hand down and don't speak.
Prior to that, Your Honor, we were having the problems with her jobs. She was getting a little bit of stressful.
Was she stressful between June and December with her job?
No, she wasn't.
Because everything was nice. She had 2 jobs, she had daycare, then she relocated, and then she had stress. It was your fault. You get where I'm going, Mr. Torres.
No, I don't.
Well, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry for you. I'm sorry for your wife. I'm sorry for your children. You should get where I'm going. Bird gets where I'm going. The 50 or some odd people out here get where I'm going, sir. And if you don't get where I'm going, there's something missing up here. Now, what happened to his property?
I called him from my sister's December 23rd, and I said, you need to come meet me if you want your belongings. He said, I don't want them. You can throw them away. You can burn them. I don't care what you do with it. So I got rid of all his clothes, his hats, because what do I want with it?
When did you get rid of them?
Most of the stuff was on that day. I got rid of it.
Okay, because you were pretty angry.
Yes.
So whether he told you to get rid of the stuff or he didn't tell you to get rid of the stuff, you would have gotten rid of the stuff anyway.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Now tell me about it when he left. Tell me about what happened when he just walked out of the house without his clothes or anything else.
He was a mess. He came back from work and he was drunk. And he'd tell me, going home to my wife and going back to my kids. And I told him continuously, I said, Jose, I'm not going to move unless, you know what I mean, you're going to be with me and stay with me. I'm not going to move to Taunton if you're going to go back with your wife. And that's what happened. He up and left.
It's a very stupid thing to do. And what happened to his entertainment center?
I have his speakers, and I asked him if he wanted them, and he said no.
Put your hand down. You know how much sympathy I have for you? That much. 0. Less than 0, if that's possible. You have his bed?
Yeah, what happened was when we lived in Falmouth, I got rid of my bed, and he brought his bed.
So you got rid of your bed
Yes,
and
I
took
did.
his bed. He doesn't get the bed back. What else?
Yes. There's the Nintendo GameCube, which my son plays with, but...
What?
I got a list if you want to see it.
I don't care to see your list.
Okay.
She threw away a lot of stuff when you left, which is probably what I would have done if you left. You left, you're not there, you didn't take your stuff, goodbye. Stuff goes in the garbage. But she has your speakers. What else do you have of his?
I have his VC like that.
Okay, good.
And his digital camera.
Okay, I want you to box those things and get them out of your house.
Okay.
Within 5 days, he's going to pay the cost of putting it in UPS or the post office or whatever.
Okay.
Excuse me. I really need to speak because he did not get the story out the right way. He's very nervous. He doesn't know exactly what to say. He was buying back his own property. She did not offer to give it back to him.
I don't care whether she offered to give it back to him or
He
not.
offered to give her money. She checked off that he could get his own property with police escorts.
And
We
I
went,
went,
and she
Good.
said she threw it away.
Good. You said it now? You happy?
No, there's a lot more to it.
I'm not interested in a lot more. I got the general gist of it. Your husband?
You didn't
Your
because
husband?
he didn't explain it right.
Don't speak. Your husband left you, not because of her, because he didn't meet her for a
actually leave.
while.
I just got separated from her to take a part time from each other.
She kicked him out.
Just a second. Then if you need time, Mr. Torres, to decide what you're going to do, is that what you're telling me? Is that what you're telling me? You needed time to figure out what you were going to do?
No, we just need time away from each other.
Then you don't move in with somebody else and dislocate them from a life. Do you understand that? Do you understand that?
I understand that, but I didn't do that.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You moved in with somebody else. If you want to take time away from your wife and see if the relationship can be put back together again, you do not move in with somebody else just because it's comfy. Do you understand? That's
Yes,
what
I
you
do,
did.
but I didn't do that exactly like that.
Get mad. Speak up.
Huh?
Mr. Torres, your wife may not want to acknowledge it, but that is precisely what you did. She did not handcuff you and tie you to her bed. From June of 2006 until December of 2006, you shared the defendant's bed, You shared her life. You convinced her to move and relocate to be closer to your children. That's what you just told me, sir.
No, I
you
did not
told
convince
me
her. We
that you
agree
wanted
on.
her to move closer.
But I did not force her to do it.
Listen, those are the things that you're getting back. Period. End of discussion. Let me explain something to you. You don't get awarded money for stupidity. You don't pick up your life and relocate for a married guy. And if you do so on a promise and a prayer, courts aren't here to help you. You have to understand that. His wife doesn't get it because she prefers not to get it. He didn't go and move into a room in somebody's house while they were trying to work out their problems. He found it more comfortable to be in your house, living with you. And she thinks that's your fault. That's not your fault. She's angry at the wrong person. She should be angry at him because it was his choice to move in with you, and it was his choice to move into another apartment with you. It was his choice. He was more comfortable living that way while he was figuring out what to do with his marriage. So her anger is misplaced, and I don't want to hear about it. So you get your property back. The stuff that you just mentioned, sir. Other than that, you get nothing. I'm dismissing her counterclaim because, unfortunately, the law doesn't permit her to have a counterclaim for her own acts of misguided love and affection and your promises that you were going to be with her. Law doesn't permit
I ain't
that.
made any promises.
Get out of here.
Michael Kroman claims ex-girlfriend Jennifer Buck had him falsely arrested for an assault. Jennifer is countersuing for emotional distress and harassment.
Mr. Kroman, the defendant is your former girlfriend. You and Miss Bach have a child together. And it is your claim that sometime in 2005, she filed false assault charges against you, which caused you to retain an attorney, lose wages, suffer. You want her to compensate you.
Correct.
Ms. Bach says she told the truth when she filed for this protective order. As a matter of fact, the protective order was granted to her for a year. She is counterclaiming because she says you're the one who continues to harass her, and she's going to tell me why. How old is your child?
She just turned 2 in January.
And when did this incident happen that formed the basis of the order of protection?
November 10th, 2005.
How long had you been separated at that point?
Almost 2.5 months.
Where did the incident occur?
In my house.
What time?
It was around 7 in the morning.
What were you doing at his house at 7 in the morning?
It wasn't 7, it was about 5:30. We had been out that evening, and he invited me back to his house, so we were at his house.
You had been out together in the evening?
Yes.
Is that right?
We met up later in the evening, yes.
Where?
At a bar.
Okay, so what happened at 5:30?
She had come back. We had been involved in a relationship for, a year and a half, and we had been intimate that night, and I had to go to work then that morning. I was tired, I needed to get some sleep, so I asked her to leave. She did not want to leave. She basically wasn't satisfied and wanted me to continue. I told her I had to get some sleep. I asked her to leave. So that is when she left. When she left, she walked into the garage, knocked over a set of poker chips. I heard a loud noise, so I followed her. And at that time, she was walking out of the garage. I was tired. I wanted to get to sleep. I wanted to make sure she left. So I approached her. I wanted to put my hand on her. And as I did that, she turned into me. When that happened, she fell over. Immediately, I apologized, and I asked to help her up. After I helped her up, I gave her a hug and apologized, and then I went inside, and she got in her car.
All right, that's the basis for your application for a protective order, that incident?
Yes, but that's not how it happened.
Now, you tell me your version of the incident.
Okay, we did get into an argument. I was leaving. I did knock off the poker chips off the table. I continued to keep walking. I never stopped at all. All of a sudden, he comes behind me, pushes me, and I fall from the garage onto the driveway. I fell on my complete left side. I was crying. He did not offer to help me up, did not apologize. I got up. I was crying. I asked him to apologize, and I left. I went home. I didn't tell anybody what happened. A couple days later, family members found out and told me to go file. So I went and filed charges on him.
Okay, so you filed for a protective order based upon this incident. And what happened when you went to court, Mr. Kroman?
Well, actually, I was going out of town the following weekend, and she had driven by and found out that I was home. So she called the cops, and they came and picked me up. I spent the night in downtown.
Okay.
So I got a lawyer the next day. And when we went to court, the charges ended up being dismissed.
You say that there was a protective order issued for 1 year.
Correct. We went to court in December for a CPO, civil protection order. It's a permanent restraining order against the temporary restraining order, per se.
Right. Well,
So
what happened with that?
that was granted December 19th of 2005.
Can I see it, please?
Yes. I'm sorry, it's December 21st.
So in Ohio, you can have a civil protective order as opposed to a criminal proceeding pending.
Correct.
Okay. Well, Mr. Krollman, you have already had a civil hearing on this matter, sir. Do you understand that?
Yes.
And the court in that hearing on December 19th, 2005, made findings. And one of the findings that the court made was that your actions caused her to be injured on November 10th, right?
Right.
Then you can't sue her, sir. I mean, if that's the incident that you're suing her over, you can't sue her.
They just basically said that there was no evidence supporting the facts that I caused those injuries. I have, a couple of things, if I may.
Just a second,
Sure.
though. The court says, inasmuch as petitioner's testimony about hitting the driveway because of the respondent's conduct is in part corroborated by the respondent, that's you, the court finds that the petitioner is a credible witness on that topic. So the court credited her version of the events. I don't sit as an appellate court. For that court, the same burden of proof exists in the two courts. There's already been a finding in that court with regard to your conduct, sir. With regard to that, the matter is what we call in legalese raised judicata. I don't go back and look at facts again. They dismissed the case and sealed it criminally. Civilly, they found you liable, and they issued a civil protective order for a year. I'm prepared to hear what you have to say. If it's relevant, sir, I just told you what the law is. That's the law. We're not going to make new law here.
Okay.
You got it?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Okay. Basically, the whole reason that I believe all of this came out is in October, a month prior, I had filed for custody.
Did you tell that to the judge?
Yes.
In this proceeding?
Yes.
So the judge heard you?
Following that, she filed, a month later, she filed for that motion.
No, that's not true, sir. You're missing something. You filed for custody in October. You got together November 10th. She fell outside on November 10th. That's intervening. Go.
That same week that the charges were filed, she also sent me an email stating that let's check to see if either of us have a criminal record. All of this in lieu of her trying to build up a case for custody since she knew I'd filed for custody.
Well, listen to me. Mr. Krollman, look at me. Just for my own information. Why did you file for custody in October, sir?
Because she would not let me see my daughter unless it was just to talk about us. It was only, oh, I'll let you talk about us and then I'll let you see your daughter.
If that's true, terrible. Because she's got to understand this. A child is entitled to know both parents. She may not care for you anymore. That's not the child's problem. And sometimes women don't get that. They have to get it. Some judge has to tell them that those are the rules. However, sir, you filed for custody in October. You got together again in November. And I guarantee you that you said things in your application for custody that she didn't like, right?
Probably. I'm sure we both did.
And then she was trying to gather ammunition about you after you filed for custody, right?
Correct.
That's fair game, Mr. Krollman. So you have no case here because that's already been decided by another court. Now, you want to proceed with your counterclaim?
Yes.
I got 30 seconds to hear the nonsense.
Okay. Mr. Krollman is an alcoholic. He's obviously had disorderly conduct while intoxicated.
And how long have you known that?
Ever since I met him.
Well, that's your problem. That's your bad judgment, not only to hook up with somebody you say is an alcoholic, but to make a baby with them. But you did.
It's true.
And child is entitled to know both parents.
It's true.
Good. Now, let's go.
He had supervised visitation during this custody proceeding, and now he's not allowed in the bar as part of our agreement when he has her for visitation.
Fine. But he has her for visitation.
Correct.
Good. Which means that the court found that he was a reasonable enough guy to have unsupervised visits.
Correct.
Right? Despite what you said.
Correct.
So the court found that you were not a credible witness. Because when you had a trial on the issue of custody and visitation, did you have hearings with regard to custody and visitation?
Yes.
And were you opposed to him having unsupervised visits?
Yes.
The court did not believe you as to the reasons why, because the court ultimately granted him unsupervised visits.
We settled.
You only settled because your lawyer said he's going to get unsupervised visits. Listen, I was in the business 25 years. I know the game. If you thought you were winning, you wouldn't have settled. That's not the way women play the game. What else?
He harasses me. I had the restraining order, and this is the stack of emails he has sent me through then. I've caught him following me to the doctor's office where I take my daughter. He continues to sue me regardless of what's happening. I have 4 pending court cases outside of this court.
What are the 4 pending court cases?
He sued me for money when we were together. His mother's suing me for money.
Did his mother give you money?
Yeah, she paid a couple car payments for me.
So his mother gave you money?
Yes.
She's entitled to sue you for money. What other case?
We had a court case Monday, and he failed to show up. He was trying to get me in contempt of child support. He failed to show up. The judge dismissed
What do
it.
you mean he was trying to get you in contempt for child support? I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
We share medical bills, basically, so she hasn't paid me half the medical bills, so I took it to court.
Have you paid the medical bills you're supposed to?
Yes.
You have?
Yes.
Oh, well, then I assume that the case would be dismissed, and probably with prejudice.
He wanted medical payments up until the time she was born. So since we were together up until she was 9 months old, the judge didn't see that was appropriate.
Keep going. What are the other lawsuits? You said 4.
Right. So we had the court case on Monday, the 2 lawsuits that his mother and him have against me, and then we have another one objecting an administrative hearing where I get to claim her on tax exemptions every year.
Okay. How much do you pay for child support?
I was paying $204 every 2 weeks.
And who do you live with?
I live by myself with my daughter.
And you work?
Yes.
Who pays for daycare?
I do.
Solely?
Yes.
What does it cost you for daycare?
$380 a month.
Well, Mr. Coleman, if I were judge hearing the case and you were paying $100 a week support and she's paying for daycare, I wouldn't let you claim the child as a tax deduction either. I'm just telling you, that's gratuitous advice. If she's paying $380 for child care a month and she lives by herself with her child and half of all of the expenses are attributed to the child, then your $100 a week doesn't cut it for 50% of support. So I would just gratuitously give up on that one. Listen, the fact that you don't like each other anymore is unfortunate. If you liked each other, you'd still be together. You did a very dumb thing in making a child together. You picked a guy who you say is an alcoholic. Not too swift, but he's yours, and he's your daughter's, and he's entitled to see her, and she's the mother of your child, and she's with her a lot, Mr. Coleman. And if you were a nice guy, you wouldn't want to stress out the person whose primary responsibility it is to take care of your child. Do you understand that?
Yes.
If you do that, it's just vindictive, not smart, and certainly not in your daughter's best interest. I'm just telling you, just not smart. It's petty and stupid. The fact that she filed for this protective order, nonsense. It was nonsense. I know what happened. She went like this. She didn't accidentally dump the poker chips. She went like that. She was angry. She knows it. I know it. She knows that I know it. That doesn't give you license to push her, which you did. Does it require a protective order? Were there other acts of violence in your relationship? I don't know the answer to that question. It's over. Put a period. Move on positively. You have to live together for the next 16 years. They can either be happy 16 years or miserable 16 years. Your child is 2, right?
Right.
It's up to you. You're both young people. You have a chance to move on and be happy.
Can I add something, Your Honor?
Yes.
Because of things that have happened in the past, that was the first time that I've filed anything. I've called the cops several times. He's taken my daughter. I've had to call the cops to get her back from his mother. He's thrown things at me, broke a mirror, shoved me in the closet. I had to call the cops when we went on vacation.
Was this all before November of
Yes,
2005?
It was. Yes, it was.
And yet you went to bed with him in November of 2005. You met him up at a bar. Nobody grabbed you and brought you back to the house, right?
True.
Okay. You don't get points for genius.
True.
Goodbye.
True.
Cases are dismissed.
Psychiatrist Dr. Howard Richmond says publishing consultant Susan Gilbert scammed him on a book deal.
According to your complaint, Dr. Richmond, you retained Miss Gilbert's services because you were interested in publishing a book.
That is correct.
And she had, well, you had heard she had had some expertise in assisting people to get their works published. You gave her approximately $2,500, and it is your claim that she really defrauded you because she was not working solely in your best interest. You want not only your money back, but you want twice that amount of money as punitive damages. So I have a few questions before we get into this. Had you written a book?
Yes, I did.
And the subject?
It was called The Healing Field, a story about myself, a psychiatrist, and one of my patients who was dying from anorexia. Only when I got out of the box of my traditional training did my patient start to heal.
How long did it take you to do the book?
About 5 years.
And what brought you to Miss Gilbert?
I was at a publishing event in 2003, and the defendant was one of many experts that presented that day, and she said that she could help me get my book published.
How much was Miss Gilbert's fee?
Her fee was $150 for an hour of coaching over the phone.
And what kind of things did she coach you about?
Well, she talked about having a branding, who I was going to. Told me about this fantastic opportunity to be a co-author in a book along with big names such as Dr. Phil, Deepak Chopra, and Wayne Dyer. And I would need to pay $5,000 to, under a tight deadline, write a chapter in the book. So then in October of 2004, I wrote a check for $5,000, sent it to the publisher, Linda, and then 2 weeks later...
The publisher is not Linda. What's the name of the publisher of this book?
Her name is Linda, and her corporate
company, yeah,
logo is Mentors Publishing House.
Never heard of him.
Neither had I.
So what'd you write him a check for $5,000 for, Dr. Richmond?
Well, at the time...
Doctors are notoriously bad businessmen, sir.
It was a good sale to be associated with these big-name authors.
Yeah, but you got to do your own due diligence, Dr. Richmond. You know, if somebody said, I'm doing an ensemble work with Dr. Phil and some other notable people, you would think that this ensemble work would be published by somebody that you would heard of.
Well, there was 2 other books, so they had a track record of putting out 2 books
2 books?
previously. Correct.
In how many years?
I'm not sure exactly.
So in their whole history as a publishing house, all you knew of was 2 books they had published?
Correct. But there were celebrities in the first 2 editions.
Like who?
Zig Ziglar.
I never heard of Zig Ziglar.
Donald Trump is in the 3rd edition. So it sounded really good.
What 3rd edition?
Well, this book that I was enticed to be a part of.
Has it been published?
It just came out in the last couple of weeks.
Is that right?
Yes. In fact, Judge Judy, would you like a copy of it? I've autographed
I'd just like
one
to
for
look
you.
at it. I don't want a copy. I have enough to read. By the way, in case you want a picture of Zig Ziglar, this is what he looks like.
That's him.
All right, so you sent $5,000 into this publisher. Go ahead, what happened?
I wrote the chapter. Then in late January, early February 2005, there were some changes in the publication and a delay in when the book was coming out. I started to get uncomfortable with the changes that were happening.
Like what changes?
Instead of 40 authors, there was going to be 70 authors. Chuck Norris was going to be on the cover of the book. He's not in alignment with the work that I do. And then on February 7th, I discovered that the defendant, my coach, was not only getting compensation from me, but also from Linda, the publisher. In exchange for bringing people in, she would get to write the foreword and have her picture on the cover of the book. And that was in an email that I only discovered February 7th. She never disclosed this to me. I was shocked. My confidence in her began to evaporate.
Did you have to pay $5,000 to get into this book?
I did not.
And the reason you didn't have to pay $5,000 to get into this book is because you brought other clients into the book?
Right, the
Is that-
relationship.
just
yes.
a second.
Yes.
My questions, your answers. Did you at any time tell Dr. Richmond that you were involved as a co-author in this project, but that you were being compensated in part for bringing in other prospective authors?
Yes.
When did you tell him that?
At the inception of the discussion of whether he would come in or not, because one of the questions that they had was whose picture would be on the front, and at that time, the publisher had offered that my picture would be in that larger space there on the cover.
That doesn't answer my question. You can write a chapter, but if everybody who's writing a chapter pays $5,000 for your bringing in other authors, you were getting a free ride. My question is, did you tell that to Dr. Richmond?
I did not state it in those words.
Well, those are the words that you should have used, Ms. Gilbert.
If I could clarify one thing for Judge Judy, though, the $5,000 fee is not a fee. He made a commitment to purchase 1,000 copies.
There's no difference between buying 1,000 copies and paying $5,000 to get in, because it all goes to the publisher. They are at least assured of 1,000 copies, and if they get 70 authors to each contribute $5,000, that means that they have guaranteed themselves 70,000 copies of the book being sold, which guarantees them a spot on some list that says we've already sold 70,000 copies, and therefore you should read this book. That's sort of a no-brainer.
It's
right,
marketing.
Ms. Gilbert?
Absolutely, it's
Okay.
marketing.
So that wasn't explained to him, that the $5,000 is that you can get 1,000 copies of this book. You don't have 1,000 friends. What you're going to do is you're going to take pieces of your library. You put 500 in one house and 500 in another house, and some in the kitchen and some in the living room. I've written books, I know. I got stacks of them all over my house. Some were sold, some did not. Listen to me. You had an obligation to tell him that you were also representing other people who were going to be contributing to this book, and in exchange for your cooperation in securing other people, which the publisher wanted, because I guarantee you, Dr. Phil didn't have to pay $5,000 to get into the book. Chuck Norris didn't have to pay $5,000 to get into the book. Nice-looking man, they don't know who he is. You got to pay the $5,000. It's marketing.
It's marketing, and that's the point. All of the coaching calls that
You
Howard
have
and I
to
had
tell
done-
him. Can I say this for a second, Bert? Sure. Don't get too involved with it. Let's see. We have people like Dan Kennedy, Cynthia Bull, Brian Tracy, Carol Ann Hamilton. How many people did you represent here, Miss Gilbert?
I represented 4 people.
And did each of those people pay $5,000?
Yes, they did.
Okay, because they were not celebrities.
Absolutely.
Did each of those other 4 people know about the other people?
I did not spell out everything as it's coming out in this courtroom, but Howard knew that I was inviting him in and I was inviting other people to participate, and I explained how it worked.
You should have explained the whole piece to him. You left out some very important things.
That doesn't take away the benefit that he would have received and all the things that we discussed.
He's not a child, Miss Gilbert.
You're right.
He's not a child. So what you're supposed to do is, if he is retaining you in what I consider an almost quasi-fiduciary relationship, you don't treat him like a child. You give him all the facts and then let him make a judgment. Now, it might have been a wrong judgment for him not to participate in this book. He might have gotten his name in print, so at least he was a published author. But your responsibility to your client, if he was your primary client, was to make sure that he had all the facts. Now, did you get your book published?
Not yet.
You got a possibility?
Of course.
Good. Now, I don't necessarily think Miss Gilbert is dishonest. I think that she didn't realize who her master was. Her master was the person who had hired her to help him publish his book. Quite honestly, Dr. Richmond, in all probability, had you not gotten your money back, because you got your $5,000 back.
No, I did not.
You did not?
No, I did not.
Why not?
Well, as a matter of fact, when I decided to withdraw from the project and ask the publisher for my money back, on February 25th, the publisher agreed to send me the check that day. I waited. No check. Then I discover my coach, my agent, told her directly not to give me my money back.
How do you know that?
I heard it verbally from the defendant, and also I have an email from the publisher that confirms the
Can I see it?
conversation.
What did you say to the publisher?
I don't know what was written there.
I'm not asking you what was written here. I know what was written here. I'm asking you what you said to the publisher that resulted in the publisher not sending him back his check.
I care very deeply, even though it doesn't appear that it's coming out that way. I care about my coaching clients.
I asked you what you told the publisher.
That I wanted to speak with Howard before he withdrew because I felt he was making a really bad business decision, that everything that he and I had been working towards for months would be helpful in this book release. And so I wanted an opportunity to speak with him.
Well, did you speak to him?
I did, and he still withdrew.
Just a second. Did you then call back the publisher and say?
Multiple times.
And say, give him back his check?
Absolutely. Multiple times I have requested, and I thought that she would. But Dr. Richmond has taken him
But
to
this
court.
says, yes, I held off sending the check because of my conversation with Susan.
Which is what I said, that I wanted to speak with Howard.
So you never got your money back?
No, Your Honor.
He took them to court and won a judgment.
Did you get paid?
No.
When did you get your judgment?
June 6th, and I have a copy of that if you would like to see it.
I would.
It's June 1st.
You have any idea why you haven't gotten your money?
Lack of integrity.
Have you called them?
Yes.
And what have they said?
No response. Tried to get the money from the bank account. No money there. Cat and mouse game.
Her client has said, I want my money back. The people are ready to send you your check. You say, don't send him his check. I want to talk to him. That's not up to you.
If he's hired me as his coach and I feel that he's making a mistake, I'd like to speak with him before that happens.
You had no business speaking to the publisher about him. You don't know who your master is in this situation. You took money from him. You are his advocate.
As is, I was advocating for him that this was a good project.
He's not a baby. It's up to him to make a judgment as to whether or not he believes that he wants to go forward with this project. You know, Chuck Norris is a very nice man. He says, I don't want to be in a book with Chuck Norris on the cover. I don't know why. I've met Chuck Norris, got a lovely man, he's got a lovely wife. Their philosophies may be inconsistent. Who knows? That's not up to you. That's up to him. How much did he pay you?
How much did he pay me?
Yeah.
A total of $2,500 over 6 months for 17 sessions. And when I begin to work with someone, Judge
So
Judy,
far, he's out $5,000 plus another $2,500, and he doesn't have a book. And the $5,000 of that $7,500, put it down. $5,000, Miss Gilbert, out of the $7,500 is because of you. Sounds to me like better practice would be not to come in front of 10 million people and tell your story, but to give him back his $2,500. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Crystal Reagan is suing her cousin, Amy Ross, for stealing cash from her home. Amy denies the charge.
Miss Reagan, Miss Ross is your cousin, and it is your claim that she stole some money from your house.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Ross denies that she stole the money from your house. How much money do you claim she stole?
$380.
And when do you claim she stole that money?
December the 17th.
And where was the money?
It was in this folder. I've got a table by my chair, and it's right behind the table.
It was in your house?
Yes, ma'am.
Who was in the house?
My husband, myself, Justin had come over to get some gas money.
Justin is your nephew?
And then Amy.
And what proof do you have, Miss Reagan, that Miss Ross took your money?
Well, what it is that day she come over. Justin had come over. He called first, said, could he come over and get some gas money? I keep up with all of his bills because he's young. He don't know how to do it yet. I've got a car with my name on it that's his, and...
I got it. So he wanted to come over and get some gas money that you were holding for.
Yes. He came over, got $35, which left $380. I keep a book where I write down every time he comes over to get money. And he got it, he left. Amy was there. She asked me, why does he come over here to get gas money? I explained to her I keep his money. For what reason? Well, how much does he got in there? And I said just $380. I'm sorry. And then after asking me that, I didn't think anything of it. She was like, well, it must be nice to be 17, have a brand new car, a nice apartment, and have money. And I was like, well, he's just getting started. That was the end of that. She stayed a total probably about 3 hours that day. We did go to Lowe's probably about 3 hours after her being there.
Who went?
Me and Amy.
Two of you?
The two of us, yeah. And she was talking about in that time frame how broke she was. She didn't have any money. She was getting one more check before Christmas and wasn't able to get her kids anything for Christmas. Didn't know if she had gas money to get back home. But when we went to Lowe's, she bought a hammer and pulled out a $10 bill, which I didn't think nothing of it either. You know, I say I'm broke all the time, but still have money. And so she dropped me off. I didn't talk to her no more for about 3 days.
And then you found your money missing?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the proof that you have.
Well, no, that's just the story. The proof is that whenever I called Lisa, her sister, to ask her, did you and Amy happen to have went shopping? Do you know of any money? Because we all know that she's broke. Do you happen to know of any money that she come up with recently? She didn't answer the phone. I left a message. I didn't tell her anything. I just told her to call me. When she did call me, she was like, oh, girl, I know what's going on. Amy done told me all about it. And then that's when she comes in.
Tell me your last name.
Durham.
Miss Durham, what do you know about this missing money?
Amy had called me, and we just were talking, and I said, well, oh, Christy had called this morning, and she left a message. I need to call her back. And she just said, oh, girl, I know why she called. She thinks I stole her money. And I said, what? And she said she thinks I stole her money, but I didn't do it. And she's threatened to get fingerprints off that book. And the only time I touched that book was to get paid right up to get to make a Christmas list for my children.
And she said that she had told me that on the initial call whenever I called her to ask her about that, because I did ask my husband about it first, and then I asked Justin, are you sure you did not take any money out of this folder? And I knew he didn't, but I knew I needed to ask first. before I called Amy to ask her about it. And all she did was just go off, fly off the handle, say, no, I didn't take it. I can't believe you accused me of that. And I said, well, all I'm saying is my brother-in-law is a sergeant. I'm going to have it fingerprinted because it is plastic. Bluffing the whole time, hoping she would come up and say, well, you know, and then she told her, kind of like giving her a reason why her fingerprints would be on it. But she never told me that.
That was the reason why.
What was the reason why? You went into that folder.
Okay.
Listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
You went into the folder to get some addresses for
well,
a Christmas
I was
list?
sitting in her rocking chair in her house.
I don't care where you were sitting. I don't care
Yes,
if you were
ma'am.
sitting on a stool, on the floor, or whatever.
No,
My
I
question
wasn't.
to you is a simple one. You went into the folder to get a Christmas list.
No, not to get a Christmas list, to get a piece of paper to make a Christmas list.
Okay.
Is what happened.
Good. I have a few questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Who do you live with?
I live by myself.
Where are your children?
They're with me.
Have they always been with you?
Yes, ma'am.
How old are they?
They're 8 and 5.
And how do you support them?
I'm a preschool teacher and also their father.
How much do you make teaching?
I make about $1,500 a month.
How long have you been teaching?
For 6 months.
Prior to that, where were you working?
I was working at a temporary service.
You have a bachelor's degree?
No, I'm just a preschool teacher at a daycare.
Is this your first job as a preschool?
Yes, ma'am. Well, no, I've worked at another daycare prior to this one.
Did you take the money out of that folder?
No, ma'am, I didn't. And what I have to defend myself on this is I didn't take that money, and she knows I didn't take that money.
She doesn't know. Listen to me. She doesn't know. You may not have taken it.
I didn't.
But she doesn't know.
And I don't have to steal money from my children.
Listen to me.
If I need money, I go to their father.
Listen to me. She doesn't know that you didn't take it because my sense is that she legitimately believes that you took it.
And then she called my work harassing me. She harassed my boss. She said, because I'm going to let you speak with her because she's in a classroom. She said,
Don't tell me what, listen to me, don't tell me what she said to your boss.
Well, she called me at work, and when it first happened, she called me, because this supposedly I went over there on a Sunday. She called me on Thursday morning, about 11.
Okay.
At work.
Now, that's my question. This happened on December 17th, according to you.
Yes, that's when the money was taken.
When did you find the money missing?
The following Thursday. Because
Too long a time, Miss Reagan.
Well, what it is Justin.
Too long a time, Miss Reagan.
And she called me threatening to take my kids away from me.
Listen.
What?
Yes, you did.
Listen to me. I don't want to hear you anymore. Cry quietly. Okay. It's too long a time, Miss Reagan, between the time that she was in your house and the time you found the money missing. You may say that the only people that were in the house were you and your husband and Justin, but I'm not sure of that. Do you have children?
Yes, ma'am.
How many children do you have?
3.
How old are they?
12-year-old, I got an 8-year-old and a 9-year-old.
And only
And they also live in the house?
Yes.
I don't know who took your money.
Well, can I explain why it was Thursday when I found it?
I don't care why it was Thursday. It was Thursday. The fact that it was Thursday is dispositive, not the fact that you waited until Thursday. I have to determine whether or not there were other people who had access to that folder. According to you, the folder is not locked. It's in plain view in your house. You have 3 children, a 12-year-old.
That didn't even know I took
Listen to
money
me. Whether they know or not, children snoop. So I would say to you that without proof, the first person that shouldn't come into your mind is her. If I were missing money in my house, the first person that I would look at is my 12-year-old. Now, that may sound terrible to you. It's just a fact of life. That's it. So, in any event, as far as the courts are concerned, you need proof positive, dispositive proof that somebody is a thief. And I, quite frankly, don't find the proof here. Nor should you. When there are lots of people who have access to that folder. Does your 12-year-old have friends over occasionally?
No.
I don't believe that.
He don't.
Well, I don't believe that. Then you're not a very good mother if you don't let your 12-year-old have
He
friends
goes
over.
off.
So I don't quite believe that. In any event, you may or may not owe her an apology. She certainly doesn't owe you any money. That's all. Case is dismissed.
Kenneth Kip Panett claims former friend Stacy Schwartz took his car without permission and damaged it. Kenneth says Stacy not only ruined the transmission and clutch, but she also popped one of his tires.
Mr. Panett, you were at a party with the defendant. I assume she was a friend of yours, and it is your claim that she took your car without permission and wrecked it.
She didn't wreck it. She hit a curb and blew out a tire, and the transmission went out.
And Ms. Swartz says that she had an unfortunate accident and that she might clearly be responsible for replacing a tire, but certainly not the transmission, since she had your permission and this accident was clearly not her fault.
Well, she did not have my permission.
Good. So let's go back. When was this party that you had?
A couple of months ago. It was a Friday night. It was at my house, and
Listen, Mr. Panett, how old are you, sir?
23.
What do you do for a living?
I am a market analyst.
Ever been to court before, sir?
No, except for traffic tickets and...
Well, that's court. So, if you're a plaintiff and you have a claim, first thing you figure out is what date.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because the questions get harder after that, Mr. Panett. So, a couple of months ago on a Friday night isn't a date.
I believe the date was December 14th, Your Honor.
That's a date. Now, it was on December 14th, 2006. Where were you?
At my house.
Who else was there?
I don't know the exact names, but a bunch of my friends.
And what were you all doing?
Drinking, watching TV, listening to music.
Great. Having a good time. Being responsible.
Yes.
What happened next?
Well, I didn't keep track of everybody around that night. I went to bed maybe around 1 or 2, and the next morning, Stacy called me and said that my car was broken down. I said, you know, how could that be? It should be in front of my house. And she said she was in Sunrise, which is about 20 miles away.
Where do you live?
Downtown Sacramento.
Go ahead.
She said it was broken down. She explained to me that she had taken my car the night before and that it had broken down the night before and that she had spent the night and was calling me in the morning. And I was...
Spent the night where?
At one of her friend's house, I assume.
Okay.
And I explained to her that she had better get my car back to me.
What kind of car do you have?
It's a Nissan Sentra.
Year?
1997. And she said she would. We exchanged words. I was a little upset, and then I fell back asleep. I didn't get my car back until the next day. She had it towed back to my house. At first, she hadn't even told me that a tire had blown out. I did see that for myself when it came to my house. Then she explained that to me. I had not given her permission to drive the car, so I was very upset. Okay.
Don't repeat anything.
Okay.
I have other things to do. Are you finished?
She had told me that she would pay for all damages. She was very apologetic at first, and I had it diagnosed, and she refused to pay it. She says she's not responsible for that.
And when you had it diagnosed, what was the bill?
It was $1,500, not $1,593.83. I'd originally said $1,600. It's I'd rounded when I looked at the receipt. It's actually $6.17 less than that.
Cơm mấy cả mà, bởi vì cơm hộp suất mà. Ai ăn bát cơm Huế hôm qua bữa ăn xong. Ác thật.
Màu kiểu dâu và cù nhỉ? Dạ, lại gà đi đâu? Chiêu anh Nam đấy.
Chiêu cái gì em? Cái bạn ăn cơm củ cải nữa. Mua cho cơm. Thịt mẹ cái đấy là thịt mẹ em đi cho cơm cho một cái chiếc lúa đấy mẹ nếu yêu ăn thì yêu.
Chôn lên. Cho đủ rồi.
Đéo nước buông vãi cắm hay nhỉ?
Đúng gì?
Doãn Cát Thượng. Đây đá này. Anh Nam ơi, anh Nam. Thượng một quả là nó ninh chém cái vô cái chít vào nước. Ở trên kia anh Nam.
Nè.
Gà chém này ở bãi luôn rồi. Mày ra hỏi nó thử là có bơ còn đi được. Trả lời chưa kiểu gà chém mày nói luôn rất bịt. Tất thì sinh năm 94 tưởng thì gà chém nói luôn.
Cái gì và nước kia nữa?
Mày số 1 xuống nổi. Thường đi rủ mày thì mày chém đi sao đi còn.
Lệ nồi phân.
Ok rồi đây.
Ba thì là tình tư à? Nhưng tưởng lên đi có phải trong ba mình. Ba ấy bảo là hỏi thường là băng tuổi á kiểu.
Băng tuổi á, ý là kiểu được đấy.
Nhìn mà bị nó hỏi mình là bao tuổi đó.
Tưởng tí nữa anh tuổi này đi bày chế mà chỉ nói chuyện khoảng 5 câu nữa thôi đấy.
36 ngày nhỉ?
36 người ta đi bày chế luôn thì
Từ ngày Người ăn gan rồi chứ.
Ôi đẳng cấp.
Tiền rồi đấy.
Tối đi qua chỗ ấy chơi đi nhỉ? Một phó tư tôi làm.
Chơi đi anh.
Quán anh em anh à?
Sau tôi chú làm tối đi.
Bảo kê.
Bán cái này à?
Đấy là bảo kê đấy.
Tiền là bảo kê.
Con cứ bảo đấy, bảo kê. Một phó tư chú làm.
Anh nghĩ hôm em gấp ngồi ở Bình Minh đấy.
Đang ăn xong thì xuống rồi thì anh làm đi.
Bắn ở đâu anh?
Cái này bạn anh Tuấn à? Hưởng bắn.
Bắn
Kêu lại.
Được con gái.
Không mà bạn mình chỉ cần bắn đi cái hoa tí đi chiều rồi đều bắn. Tưởng đấy.
Bắn ra để vứt đều.
Anh trêu em được, trêu hang đố anh trêu đấy.
Cút mặt.
Chủ yếu ngày vì
Tuổi rồi em, không bắn được.
này đấy cả này.
Cái bắn vào rồi này.
Chắc đấy.
Anh còn ốt vài lúc với anh còn biết lên để bắn cả cái to nhá này bắn ra không lại.
Nó vui tình về đi.
Thành tớ xử phạt.
Đây.
Đồ có một kỳ ra. Có một kỳ ra. Có gì nhỉ?
Luộc nó vào này.
Hả?
Con rèn một loạt phun mát này, con rèn đồ một loạt video mới để làm thử loạt mới. Không có lời đâu, nghe em chủ yếu gì.
Nhưng logo vào á.
Tôi biết là cho ra một loạt video mới. Các bạn cứ video thì cũng như còn nó bị cứng loạt nó khó rồi.
Bật logo ấy không được.
Hắn đổi hết đấy. Nếu như cũng rời rồi thì không cân lại. Mà đây mỗi cái logo ấy rồi. Không bao nhiêu à?
Dư đi.
Không có gì từ chưa?
Ừ?
Cái thứ này.
Không.
Cái xe cái logo đấy được. Hay là một cái gì?
Không có thể.
Cái chúng mình căn hộ cái này.
Không.
Này này.
Anh có xuống đâu không sao?
Mất nó nhiều vàng.
như ăn nó đi phải đang ăn chứ anh không ăn để tí nữa. Ra chứ cần ăn đâu, nó không phải nhỏ, chúng ta ăn trong miệng. Nó cần còn dầu hai nữa.
Anh thường là nên lúc tông kiểu có khoảng 100 tỷ hoặc 100 tỷ kiểu cỡ anh Ngọc anh gà tuyệt về đi gặp ai cũng đi cái gà này chỉ
Đang xem video đang này đang ngồi tù này, để tạp cái gì ba mẹ đang chưa mất rồi để đang ngồi nghe điện thoại alo alo thì hoàn trước này bèn đi biển số này mua anh đây mà phải lại dạy lại hơi quên
nó bảo là bù nó chơi ra bắt bế của con chưa cái gì
không đâu không được tưởng ra cũng phải lên ra ăn không phải đi điểm không vào làm chơi được chưa đang ăn mọi người vào đi điểm ở trong nhà tiền
Em chỉ đi uống cà phê với là yên răng rồi.
cà phê với ai thế anh hướng ngồi xuống tôm như bấm cái đấy là một tuần chưa cứ một tuần mấy cái con mà em sinh à
Con nào vậy?
con bán
con
con
này
này
ngày đấy thì nó còn tuần em bảo Hiếu đi mua coca mà em chụp
nó môi trường qua đâu
hôm qua em cũng coi Hiếu với anh thì Hiếu giả cùng cá
thích mấy cơm cho nó dưới à ngon phải nói anh
Cơm sốt dâu mình không cứ tròn nữa. Tròn nó mới tròn được người. Là ngang nhưng số vẫn nhiều cơm hơn cả mọi cái sốt kia cơ. Nó tròn nhiều món nó không kiểu tròn như mình có món 2 món đâu.
qua hàng đi người số là dài nhầm người dài người mà cái này là sao rồi vậy đi mẹ ăn mà mốt em được ăn sao anh đừng ăn à mẹ đi làm mai mới cái cứu các kiểu anh em nhá đi mẹ bạn thần chi cốt sống nhau đi mẹ mà cùng chung tôm nước ăn chung cái bát với thịt mẹ bữa đầu thì mẹ
anh đi đơn giản giống như
bớt đi chơi gái gì mẹ bớt tiêu hang gì các bạn đi mẹ mới anh em anh em có đấu một áp thôi
quán đồ anh
đúng có khổ rồi nhỉ
quán đồ này mấy tiền quán thái cô này được tổng xem em còn bạn anh thanh toán không được tổng
Vừa nâu rồi anh bà Tư em.
nói chung là em cũng phải không đi tổng trong nửa năm em mới kết mặt nhau đó
giờ mình chơi quả là đi cái khu đây mình hoành rắm đi mày đéo đi
Cái kéo chạy bị bay thế nhỉ?
mua đây mình hoành rắm đi quả cứ thổi vào Hiếu đéo đi
Vượt.
chôn này ăn ngon hơn anh chôn này là ăn nhão nhão ngon vậy luôn
Vậy mà này sau chuột nó xanh lá rồi. Nếu như các bạn thấy hay cho một like, share và kênh. Hẹn gặp lại các bạn trong lần sau. Chào và hẹn gặp lại. Chuột.